Listen, it helps the channel. Sure, I could pretend that some company's pre-built PC is awesome, even if it just accidentally happens to be that I got it from them in the last 3 weeks. You don't want that. I could also open up an OnlyFans, which just me naked eating Uncrustables and rubbing my beard against the mic. No one wants that either because it'd be terrifying. For $5, you can become a YouTube member. I'd probably save you that by warning you away from Alakind's gun, or maybe Gene Rain, or maybe you watch the reviews. I don't know why, because they suck, but maybe you do. If you join now, we don't have to worry about those things. You also get access to the Patreon when it comes to the Discord. So become a YouTube member now, before I start having to put surprise oral sex looking thumbnails on my reviews. And trust me, no one else wants that. So power up with ACG. Besides, it's for sure better than those POS earbuds YouTubers try to sell you. Why should you join the ACG YouTube membership? Listen, it helps the channel. Sure.
Amount will make more money than entire games will. Like,
yeah. But for
just
$90 a mount, better let me mount it. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I want it at my house. I want to be able to sit on it like a porcelain giraffe. 'Cause
yeah,
damn.
it needs to punch above its.
Oh yeah,
you know, it
punch
needs
way
to
above
do
its weight.
extra
It needs
stuff.
to have a little voice box that's like makes giraffe sounds and shit. Sup, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Johnny for podcast 494 of the Best Gaming Podcast. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. We were just talking about Blizzard released a $90 World of Warcraft mount. I did see some people arguing about it behind the scenes, where they were talking about how like the cost of it, something about the gold and how it all works in the ecosystem, that technically it isn't like as expensive as it appears to be. And I'm like, $90.
That sounds like a cope. They're like massaging their way into.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. They sound like
that makes sense.
They sound like a Chinese financial expert, where they're like,
or
the housing
someone
market
who's
is
been
not
abused in the
decay.
past. But they're like, you know what? He's a great guy. He just drinks a lot, and sometimes, you know.
Yeah, hitting is love. Sup, everybody? Hope you guys are all having a good day and enjoying this entire week, or have enjoyed the week. We're gonna roll into Friday, and we're gonna talk about a bunch of stuff. We're gonna talk about something I'm super interested in, which is we're going to talk about not only Black Ops, but Black Ops, luckily enough, got the audio company to help them make actual head-tracked audio and better audio for it. A lot of people reported it as like pay to buy better audio, which technically you could say that is it, but it's a third-party company that offers add-ons, and they did Cyberpunk. They did, they're doing Black Ops now, and there's another one that I think they do. And it takes like pictures of your ears. It's a lot like the Neura system I've talked about. Fantastic. It is a second service. It's a different company doing that. You can still use PlayStation and Xbox's Sonic audio, which is terrible, by the way, or you can use all of the settings you normally would have. But this one is a very particular app, and it's special. It's a little near and dear to my heart because I'm an audio guy, and I've checked out their Cyberpunk one, and I got to tell you, Johnny, it's fucking good. It's good, man.
Oh, and I tried the one for Final Fantasy 14, and it was already amazing.
Yeah.
And so that's what it is, because I simply heard, you know, premium sound, or like, you know, pay for better sound is what everybody's saying. Yeah, and you're going to hear that kind of stuff, which sort of makes sense, but it is a company doing a completely extra thing. It is a separate thing, right? It's a third party.
Well, dude, it's no different than if you were to say a mod maker who mods reshade in, or a mod maker who adds their own stuff in. They aren't allowed to charge either. And we can get into that conversation for sure if we want to, but I've already lost that convo. I was originally sort of mad about, you know, different.
When it comes to that, like that type of stuff, would you consider it worth the money? I think it's what, $20 people are saying for that.
Okay, it's worth the money. If you're into audio, it's for you. If you're not into audio, it's not going to make sense, because to an audiophile, $20 is nothing. So quite literally nothing. $20 is it's less than a 99-cent microtransaction that you would see on a Ubisoft game for a cape. So I would say for the normal consumer, no, because the normal consumer will be playing on their Samsung TV with some highfalutin fake-ass ad saying it tracks the audio and it's perfect and all this shit, when we all know it's not. Unless you have a home theater, it's not. It's just the way it's set up. It doesn't mean it will sound terrible. But for a normal person, no, it's not worth it. For a person who cares about audio and in a shooting game and is going to be playing the game a lot,
maybe you're going to play a bunch of hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give you an example. They updated Fallout's with basically actual correct height and stuff in audio. Somebody made a mod for Fallout 4, and after I played that with VR on and off, I can guarantee you I'd pay $20 without a shadow of a doubt. And that was a free mod that the person put on. It took them 4 years to do, versus this one, which releases day one. So you have that, professional versus a modder kind of thing, right? Anyway, I want to say welcome to everybody. Sorry, we got into the weeds there, but that'll be sort of today's, because we have all kinds of stuff to discuss. But it also wasn't necessarily an insanely busy week. It was an odd one. I would love for all of you guys, if you get a chance, thumbs up this right now. It helps out the channel. We'll also be giving out a copy of Blops. They gave me a code, day and date, which was weird. They said it was going to be early, so I scheduled for it. Unfortunately, as I expected, I did not get a code until day one, but I'd already bought the game. And so we played it a bunch in the Discord yesterday and have enjoyed my time with it. So I'll be giving out some codes. And the only thing I ask of you is to leave a comment after the video is done with this question. I've been thinking about this for a while. Why the hell has Call of Duty, even with some misses, stood the test of time versus all these other ones? Like when you look at Battlefield, I mean, I don't know about you, Johnny, but Battlefield sort of collapsed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even NFL games get a lot of shit. But Battlefield, even though we all know it's the same thing, right? It's like zombies, multiplayer, blah, blah, blah. I just sort of want to know why it's withstood the test of time to people. And even if you don't think it's withstood the test of time, I'll still take your answer. So at the very end, hit like, leave a comment, and I'll find you using your YouTube channel, usually YouTube channel comment.
And it's stayed in the mainstream too, which is interesting, because some games stayed the test of time, like Dragon Quest, for example, but they are much more niche. There's a smaller set of people who are into those games, but Call of Duty is almost like FIFA.
Do you remember?
Like, some people only play Call of Duty.
Do you remember the first time you ever heard of a Call of Duty? Do you remember like sitting up, you went to school and some guy's like, hey, have you played blah, blah, blah? Or were you online and you heard about this game? Do you remember like the first experience you had or knowledge you had of Call of Duty?
Not that much. No, not like specifically. What about you?
I think mine was Modern Warfare 2. I think I was doing other games. And then when that one finally came out, I think I was like, okay, I'll look, because I believe there was. See, this is the thing, is my memory's hedgy, because back then there were so many of these war games coming out. They were all trying different things. And I think it was Modern Warfare 2 that I jumped into and was just like, dude, it's a Michael Bay movie in game form. It was everything I wanted from a game if it was going to be that style. The shooter linear, go through a map. It was everything I wanted. Just like the Michael Bay moments distilled down to you being the hero throughout the entire thing, which was awesome. What about Call of Duty? I mean, you're not a huge fan. You're probably, I'm assuming you're not going to jump in.
I don't know. Now that it's on Game Pass, it's a lot easier to get in there and check out the campaign. Have a nice short adventure. Maybe jump into the zombie stuff. It did look fun. I was watching you guys last night, and seems easy to get into. Like, it's not a ton of learning curve.
No, there's some we did zombies. So I'd like to know what your guys' thoughts are if you've played it. We played zombies last night with a bunch of people in the Discord. Had a really good time. Solar jumped in. Takedown had jumped in. And then later in the night, a bunch of other people jumped in. We ended up just playing a bunch of zombies to really solidify like what our thought was on zombies this year, because it's always changed a little bit. And yeah, it's a little messier looking. And I definitely brought that up when we were all sitting there talking. It's messier looking, Johnny. Like it's noticeably more. Just even the locations where upgrades and stuff feel a little bit like somebody just said, let's just throw this upgrade here, versus a little bit more thought that might have happened in the past older versions I had played. But it's enjoyable. There's a lot of thinking on your feet and experimentation. And I think there's a difficulty with gamers when you can die and you can, you might have to wait for a respawn, blah, 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 where they would like to not have to experiment. They'd like to know a little bit more. if that makes sense. A little bit, because they have tutorials, but they're really bad. They're really bad. They're like, this does this, and it's flashing up as the game's loading in, and you're like, it does what? Wait, what? And then somebody's already running off, you know? But
you got to get in there, have a crack, figure out stuff by yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely different in that way. What'd you think of the graphics? Because I know you were just watching the stream. What'd you think overall of what you saw on the stream?
I thought it looked good. It's hard to compare. You know, I was trying to compare it to something like Back 4 Blood or other games of that type. And I would say, yeah, it looks a bit better than those. But I didn't see anything that spectacular as well, because the mode itself is really just about killing the zombies. There isn't a lot of, explosions or extra stuff.
And they have to tune it down graphically to make sure 6 people throwing grenades against 150 zombies. I will say this. I heard Takedown and Solar both say, there seems to be a lot more zombies in this. And now I've never counted, I've never paused, but I can tell you last night, that thought ran through my head probably within the first 40 games, where I was like, wait, are there just more? Like a good deal more? Or is it what we're doing? Again, I haven't counted it. Maybe it's because the levels that you initially play are a little crowded. If anybody in chat knows if there are more, I would love to hear, or if your impressions are less. But yeah, it was enjoyable switching stuff up. You know, it's all about the upgrade path, right? Like, it's all about jumping in. And luckily, you don't have to be competitive in it, because it's that PvE mode. Yeah. So it's like you can just jump in with a pal and be like, let's do this. In fact, last night we were teasing the newbies who jumped in, and then within a very small amount of time, you actually felt their skill raise. It was crazy. We jumped in, and maybe the first couple deaths, you could see them doing what everybody does, like grabbing the wrong thing or running the wrong way. And then all of a sudden, every death and every level, you just saw their skill go up. And I was like, oh, that was really cool to sit back and watch, these people actually getting a
reward for being like top Chad in the lobby or something.
Oh,
like, if you have most kills or.
Dude, I don't know. I just get experience at the, if you extract, you get experience. I don't know, man. That's a good point. I don't know if,
that would be one like friendly competition thing. Like, hey, I want to be top frag or whatever.
You know what I love in our Discord, dude? How many people sit in that Discord and say they don't like to be competitive, and I will see them tapping the alt button to see the scoreboard. And I'll be like, if you are not competitive, there is nothing that scoreboard is helping you with other than blocking your vision. So quit hitting that, because you'll hear them. They'll be, yeah, man, I'm not competitive. I don't even check my deaths or my kills or anything. They'll be running around, and then you'll say, tap, 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 tap.
Just checking. How am I doing? People want to know how they're doing. Yeah, for sure.
I asked the people what their first experiences were, as well as Johnny, and I'm hearing a lot of people are saying Medal of Honor. What's up, Plague? Good to see you. It's been a little while. I have checked a couple of your streams lately. Appreciate you jumping in here. Let's see. Jay says, I remember when Call of Duty 1 first released for PS2, and it felt like a breath of fresh air compared to annual Medal of Honor franchise. Yeah. Necro says, back as I recall, COD had a decent storyline. Yeah, I mean, the storylines are definitely CSI Miami Season 12 versus 1. Like, things have gotten, things have gotten a little bit crazy. Played on my parents' Dell. I remember playing COD 4, the first Modern Warfare. I came from playing Halo multiplayer, and it was such a hard adjustment, but I was a middle schooler with nothing but time, so I pushed through it. How'd that work for you, though, Romulus? Do you actually feel like it worked, or do you feel like maybe it didn't pay off, and now you're just sitting here going, damn, I wasted all that time? A lot of people saying they're jumping into the Game Pass version, which is definitely cool. CT says, remember it coming out as an alternative. A lot of people saying zombies are their main ones. People are saying they can't log into Activision. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a thing. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a thing. Logging in.
What do you think the fun factor is with this one? We recently played Space Marine 2. That was a lot of fun. We've done other games in the Discord in the past, like Back 4 Blood, World War Z.
Just my honest impression, I do not feel that this is going to hold up in any kind of long-term fun factor for me.
Gotcha.
I do feel that it is going to be very fun for the couple days I play it. But today I had the issue that somebody in our chat was saying where they couldn't log in. And I realized almost instantly, my brain was like, all right, I didn't get the angst you sometimes get, the chase angst. You know, a girl says, I don't know if I'm interested. And you're like, but wait, let's talk it out, you know. And that's sort of the way I get with games I want to play. This one popped up, I got the error, and I was like, okay. And I just closed the game. So I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. We'll just have to see. And then, what's up, Cass? $2 super chat. Friday and ACG podcast, all is well now. Thank you very much for joining the podcast. It's good to see you again. Soulskeeper, $12 super chat. Gents, been a while. What crossover between games of the same developer publisher would you like to see? After concluding Space Marine 2, would like to see an Ultramarine and World War Z. Okay, that's fair.
So yeah, that's a
crossover in the same genre,
idea.
Though. That's actually a good. That's actually a good crossover, like in the same franchise. So like Forza and Forza Horizon, the crossover's already there. So, but with Space Marine 2 and World War Z, that would work.
What about something like Bayonetta and Nier Automata? Because that's both from Platinum Games, right?
Yeah.
And those characters seem to be a little bit like Stellar Blade, you know, like a vibe.
You know what I'd like, dude? I'd like that Elden Ring suddenly comes out with the DLC nobody expects, and you go into another doorway, and you can take characters from all the other games. Your Sekiro character, your Bloodborne character, your Dark Souls character, and take them all into Elden Ring for the co-op, for the multiplayer. Be like, hey, let's...
That could be a fun mod if someone can...
It's exactly what I was going to say. It's exactly what I was going to say. Is it would be a mod. Romulus says, I think it worked great. I still play COD each year when it comes out. Okay, well, there you go. Yeah. And now I can't stand Halo multiplayer. All right. Well, that's fair. I'm just pumped for Verdansk to come back to Warzone in spring. Juan says, afternoon, Call of Duty 6 is more of a demo for Warzone coming up next month. The hype only needs to last a month. Don't think that's necessarily true, but I do see that there's definitely some overlap for sure. Butterball, $5 super chat. What's up, Butterball? Nice to see you. The campaign's been a major step up. So from last year, I would say it apparently everybody agrees. Now, let's be honest. This is IGN, right? Like whatever. They gave it, I believe, a 9 out of 10, which I was telling, Johnny that I was pretty surprised by that. But then I started talking to other people who have played the campaign, and they feel the same way, that the campaign is not only a major step up, let's say, from Modern Warfare 3, but is actually just a really good campaign overall. So that'd be cool.
That's good.
Yeah, that is really good.
That would mean they took, some of the feedback, assuming it's not as short.
It's not.
To start
it's not as short,
and then it's also better.
Yeah. Do you know what else is cool, Johnny? Like, these guys have their Trinity. If you ignore, like, you're looking at game development, Trinity is like your gameplay, your experience, atmosphere, how it all comes together, pushes the game forward. With this one, you have zombies, right? You have pillar that's zombies, a pillar that's campaign, and a pillar that's multiplayer. And a lot of people buy it for different ones, but it's sort of held up by all of them being together. I feel like that's the perfect, when they're charging this much and you're getting repetitive content, I feel like having those three consistently be in the package is perfect. If this one nails it in all places, that'll be really nice, where somebody can just walk away and say, this one has a little bit for everybody, regardless. Yeah. I apologize that my dogs are barking. I have no clue what's going on outside, but...
and Kara, for the price of Game Pass, just to add to that, like, that would build a lot of goodwill if people can play the game, enjoy the game, enjoy all those three pillars, and not have to pay, say, full price.
Yeah, and Game Pass means... So, if I understand how Game Pass works correctly, you would be able to get the game on Game Pass and then play on GeForce Now for free, because for 1 hour, because GeForce Now has the free 1 hour tier where you can do 1080p free, I believe, for 1 hour. So technically, a person could test a game they really want to see how GeForce Now works on a quick Twitch game like Call of Duty, and because it's on Game Pass, they could do all that for basically no real cost other than what they're paying for Game Pass originally, which is pretty fantastic when you think about it, if somebody wants to get an idea of GeForce. Carrick, do you review Call of Duty campaigns? Yes, I absolutely would love to, but it has been messed up with how they're doing the codes for Call of Duty, and it has for a while. I think IGN might be even their review, I think, was done after the game. I'm pretty sure somebody played it either current or right after it came out. So their codes are a little bit different. I think with Game Pass, they wanted to just get it out there too. I think you and I talked about that, Johnny, too. Is like, if it's on Game Pass, why do reviews? Just pop it out there. Let people experience it whatever way they want.
Let that be the review in a way.
Yeah. Soulskeeper says, what I dislike about Game Pass Xbox with COD multiplayer, you can't really play with crossplay off. You're pretty much forced to play with PC players. I always do. I didn't think about that. So you can't turn it off. Huh.
Interesting. And
then B1G Duck says, if you buy 6 months of GeForce Now, you get Dragon Age Veilguard for free. I did. I saw that. Very cool. AV Plays says, how are you today, Carrick and chat? I think we're all doing good so far. But it could go to hell. Yeah. Again, thank you for the super chats. Remember, we're giving away a copy of the game at the end of the podcast when you leave a comment on why you think the game stuck around so well. What do you play? What have you been playing this week, Johnny?
So I've been playing quite a bit of Silent Hill 2, some Metaphor. Those have been the main things. I wanted to try to knock out Silent Hill 2 and then move on to Alan Wake, the DLC, because I wanted to play that out. It's turned out that Silent Hill 2 is way more than like I expected in terms of length. And so I've been trying to get through that, but it's one of those games like I need to take breaks because it's really taxing. Your movements is slow. The combat kind of sucks. You know, you're like trying to dodge and still getting hit by stuff. Yeah. And then I like the puzzles and the immersion, but it is so oppressive of an atmosphere that it's pretty taxing to spend like a lot of time in there. So it's been a little rough. I'm not sure if I'll be able to complete it, but I did want to because I was interested in seeing what ends up happening. And I like the puzzles enough to stick through it. So for now, I'm sticking with it. But yeah, it's been a bit of a rough one, man.
Just because of the atmosphere?
The atmosphere and everything takes a long time in the game because even your running is very slow. So like, I have to, backtrack through this entire corridor. That's already slow. And so everything adds up because it's like slowness on top of slowness, on top of some jankiness. So, but it's got some really cool stuff. Otherwise I wouldn't be playing it. It's just that those things do grate on me a little bit. And I'm not the biggest horror fan to begin with. So it's kind of like
I have
a bit of a rough, combo.
I think with horror, it hits everybody so different. I have a video. I haven't decided. It's already up. I haven't decided when to make it live, but it's like 10 or 12 horror games, horror/terror/oppressive. But it hits everybody so different, right? Because I have a couple games in there. Some people will hear or read horror and they don't realize you can't just explain everything as a paragraph in a YouTube title. So you're like, here's what's in the video overall. But one person's horror is another person's comedy, right? And one person's comedy is another person's terror. Like clowns. One person may laugh it off. The other person may be like, dude, I don't like clowns at all. Like even, where they're supposed to be, let alone at night, outside your window, looking in your peephole, knocking on the door. So I think with horror and Silent Hill, I agree with you. I'm more your style, where I felt Silent Hill was pretty oppressive, pretty over the top, pretty like there's a heaviness that that is on the character's shoulders at all times, and then that's reflected in the character's movement in a way. Like a person who has no energy, they can't get hyped because there's nothing to get hyped about. It's just this depressive that sits over, and it works. It works occasionally. I think too much of it's probably wouldn't be for me. Graphically, it looks good too.
The one thing that I keep laughing about is how NPCs have this magic ability to move through the town completely unscathed. And meanwhile, I'm getting just bombarded by potato sack dudes all day. And they seem to be totally fine. Like there will be this unarmed kid running around totally fine. An unarmed lady without any defense whatsoever, totally fine, right?
Yeah.
They're just... Yeah. And that's where I'm at, where I want to figure out what is actually going on.
I knew it. I knew that's where you're going with this, by the way. That's why I was just saying, because I know you want to find out how is that possible? Does it make sense in the story that they're able to?
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, so I'm trying to be very vague on purpose, but it's one of those things like nothing really adds up to the point where you're just wondering, wait, what is actually going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's kind of cool in that way.
Yeah, graphically it looks good, and congrats to Bloober team. They did a fantastic job putting that together, and I'm looking forward to whatever it is that we see next from them, regardless if I like it even. I think they did a really good job bringing that back. Sorry, I just saw your general post, and I thought that was I've slightly altered the thumbnail for my 10 horror games, and I thought it posted. And I was like, what? At the same time?
Ooh.
So I asked everybody in here what they've been playing. We're going to read those real quick. Let's see. Metaphor, Lego. Working my way through the latter half of Black Myth. Borderlands 3. It has some quality DLC. The writing's improved. Story is solid. Okay. Let's see. Big Mac tonight is tending his virtual farm. Javier, $2 super chat says Metaphor all week. Let's go. Silent Hill 2 for Sagittarius. Ken is playing Inscription. Jetser is playing Silent Hill 2. Windblown, a little Sonic, and will play Call of Duty. Rogerio says, can't stay, so just leaving a like. Thank you very much. AV Plays says, I've never played a COD game, multiplayer or zombies or campaign, except the first ever COD campaign. Seems like a hard one to get into campaign-wise. Yeah, I mean, if you like action movies, it's not. If you just buy off on it like that. Any other way, you probably won't like it. Love Making Videos is playing Still Wakes the Deep. Jesus Crust says it felt the same way Johnny does. In Alien Isolation could only play for a short amount of time due to stress.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also my problem, because I'm not used to those games that much. I've played Resident Evil, a bunch of them, but outside of that, I haven't played a ton of horror games. So yeah, just the vibe itself becomes pretty heavy.
Robert Cochran gives the answer, or no, he's just talking about zombies, but he also said he's playing Far Cry Primal, which is the only true and correct answer that's been given so far in this chat.
Okay, at this point, people just say that to please you because they know you like it.
And so you know what? That's fine. I'll take my P. Diddy yes men. I'll take the occasional person who just tells me yes no matter what. I don't need a ton, but if Robert wants to be that guy today,
Robert Cochran.
Yeah,
you got a few.
You're a good man.
Free points there.
Yeah, dude, he's even talking about it. He says, I love riding the mammoth, so he knows at least a little bit about the game.
He actually knows. Fair.
When you get a friend and you're like, yeah, man, I sort of only like football. I play, I watch a couple, things. The person's like, yeah, me too. And you're like, so what did you think about the last game? And they're like, what last game? You're all, dude, the game that was just on. And then you realize they were just saying that they liked it because you said you liked it. Robert at least knows about the mammoth. If he was, if he said riding the motorbike was a cool thing, I'd be like, okay, Robert, you're lying.
Yeah, I'll take back what I said. He knows enough at least to.
You take it. Only a little bit. I'll back off.
Yeah.
I still am attacking you aggressively, and I still don't believe you. I'm just joking. A lot of people doing Still Wakes the Deep. Man. Oh, Laser says, dude, the first time you see a creature in Still Wakes the Deep, it shook me. So Solar, who isn't a guy who really gets scared, he gets creeped out, I guess you would say. You'll hear him say something like, oh my God, I don't want to see that again or whatever. He was playing Still Wakes the Deep, and we were talking about there's this character in there that I put a little bit in the video, but he's just opening and shutting a dishwasher or a clothes washer drawer a bunch of times, or the door.
Yeah.
Like he's mechanically remembering being a human. So he's just like playing with it. That was one of the straight up creepiest things I've seen in years. I was in this tunnel and I hear this
psychological.
Boom. It just kept like, and I looked and it was like a cat, but not a cat playing with a ball. It was like he was trying to slowly figure out why the memory of this door opening and shutting was, and it just kept happening. And it becomes this rhythmic sound in the background where you can track where that part of the room is by that sound continually, just as he just keeps trying to shut it.
That's the type of stuff when you see like, oh, there's like, that person's sanity is completely, just builds into the whole.
There's another creature in there that's yelling, why won't you guys help me? But I don't think he realizes he looks the way he looks, and it's haunting. There are some really good parts in that game where it's like,
oh, wow,
why is nobody talking to me? Why is nobody?
Okay.
It does that thing where they descend. Everything's fine. They're like, why does nobody love me? And you're all, I don't want to be involved with that one.
Okay, so it's got some good creatures.
Yeah, it's a good overall feel. It's but it is short. 5, and it's a walking sim.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
5
Opening
hours.
doors.
Mm-hmm. I love the games. $5 super chat. Would you rather go on a date with Gwyneth Paltrow or Tom Cruise? No cheating. Also, Black Ops 2 slaps like a drunk uncle. I would rather go on a date with Tom Cruise, I think.
Yeah, because you could talk about anything, right? Like, you don't have to. It's not like.
Yeah, and Gwyneth has been Coldplay.
Hang out.
Like, she's been played by Coldplay. I don't know what's going on there. Like, mentally, don't know where she is. Tom Cruise, I like, if he's sucking the plasma of newborn babies, I'm like, you know what? I can get behind that. I understand
it's a
the
more
desire for
interesting
youth.
Conversation there.
It's a more interesting conversation.
I agree with you. Yeah. Gwyneth has been around Chris Martin too much from Coldplay.
Yeah. I just don't. Admittedly, I don't have any issues with Coldplay.
No, me neither. I'm just
nor
playing
Gwyneth,
it up,
but Tom Cruise would be awesome because I have a feeling that guy'd be a good date too. Friend date, whatever, sex date. You'd be like, hey, Tom, let's go to the Grand Canyon. Tom would be like, dude, we're not just going. I'm going to fill it with water. We're going to jet ski in that bitch. Like, you never know what he would come up with. You'd be like,
We'll jump off a plane.
Exactly. He's like, we're going to jump off a plane into another plane, leap off of that, get into a helicopter that's inverted so you don't get hit by the blades, and that'll be just getting to dinner, which will be on the Grand Canyon on a glass bottom boat that we filled.
Did you see the
Grand Canyon
Olympics thing he did?
I did. It was just a jump, though, right? Like, just
well, it was several things. He also took the flag and was riding his motorbike with it to the plane. And then, fly the plane somewhere, jump off the plane, do some other stuff.
I love it.
Tom Cruise, man.
I love it. Yeah, SBZ says, I don't know, man. Tom Cruise looks like he's acting all the time, even in real life. Welcome to everyone's life, buddy. That is quite literally how we live life. Let's see. Laser says, dude, that is what scared the crap out of me. Oh, we must be talking about the door shutting and opening.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a creepy one. Skydive into the Grand Canyon, Plague Soul says. I would. Fill the Grand Canyon with Jello, skydive into it. You'd probably drown. Jello doesn't seem like it has a lot of pressure, even at a larger.
Yeah.
You'd probably crater into that, and then you would drown via tapioca pudding or something, which admittedly might not be that bad if you just ate it before you died.
Yeah, it depends on the texture of the pudding. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, because if it's lime
pudding, it's one of the flaccid ones,
flaccid pudding. I don't even know what that means.
Through.
But I feel like if somebody ever offered, if a Frenchman came up to my table and was like, would you like this pudding or some flaccid pudding? I'm pretty sure I would not choose a flaccid pudding, no matter what flavor. Would you like this dog shit tasting pudding or lemon meringue pie flaccid pudding? I'd be like, dog shit, please.
Yeah.
There'd be, moving on from there. So we've talked through Call of Duty. It seems to be doing well. People playing it on Game Pass. It'll be interesting to see how it all pans out for them as a company, and if we get future ones on Game Pass, I think we will. But overall, I haven't had a lot of technical issues. Are you going to play the
campaign? I'm just curious. And talk about it and stuff. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can play it as well.
Yeah, campaign. I'm going to play some multiplayer. If it turns out to be great, I'll play it. But I think zombies will capture me, and we'll just have to see how busy this week and next week are. I will warn people that I would love to say I was doing a bunch of reviews, but I am not. This entire month, I think I did 2 or 3 reviews in 2 or 3 days a couple weeks ago. And from that point on, Silent Hill, they didn't give codes. Sparkling Cider, they didn't give codes. They didn't give codes for Call of Duty. There's a couple others that are being worked on. It's been a rough month, so can't review what I don't have. So what I've been doing is playing games for some future videos, talk here. Not a lot to review that I want to really touch on either. But yeah, just so everybody knows, we're sort of in a state of hiatus right now.
I thought the Dragon Ball game you would get for sure, because you had, you got huge traction with.
Yeah, they even contacted me about it. I have no clue. From what there was a big hubbub prior to getting it that I don't want to go into because we want to talk about games. But there was some stuff already I had heard was an issue with influencers / reviewers even getting code. That was like 2 weeks prior because I hadn't reached out to them. Moving on from there, let's look at some of the news that we have for this week. I'm going to go to our Halloween
before you move on real quick, by the way, we were talking about stuff we're playing. A lot of people are playing Metaphor. I'm playing that. I would like to hear from people where are you at in your journey, because I'm a little bit past, well, I'm past the honeymoon phase. So if you use the analogy of like a long-term relationship, I'm at the point where we still love each other, right? We have breakfast together sometimes, but we don't mind if we don't sync up for dinner, you know? Like if the other person is doing a different thing. That's more or less where I'm at, where it's like I've had a couple snags in the game where I had to like you know, shake things up a whole bunch and got quite a bit of friction sometimes, which was good and bad, forced me to play with some systems and stuff. But certainly 40 hours in, I am a little bit more like, okay, you know, I'm still in it, but I'm not gonna like play quite as much. Gonna like pace myself a little bit. I think with those long games, that's sort of the way it goes, isn't it? Like you do reach a point sometimes where, you know, you're a little bit burnt out from what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't like when this becomes just all about like reviews, but I do have to point out that that's one of the reasons why I get a lot of flack is somebody will play a game for 2 hours and I'll play the game for 80 hours
Come
to
back
win it.
to me.
And I'll be like, come back. And that happened with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I remember Absy was one of them. He's like, I mean, he was DMing me. He's like, you're never being rude, but he was all, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know, 30 hours, 20 hours, maybe even in, get back to me. Takedown was like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I'm going to minefield this thing. And I was like, you know, that's awesome if you do, but get back to me once you've even come close to a couple hours in it. And both of them later were like, holy shit, I do see the difference between the two. And the difference between an impressions, you know, which is what you were given when you first played it, and then the full game and how it comes together. We do see games that are great all the way through, but that's a long time. Like, let's say you get above 40. I think 40 hours isn't just a magical number either. I think we've all thought 40 was some kind of magical thing. I don't think it is. I think 40 makes a particular sense. I'm going to say this roughly. If you have 10 hours of world building, 10 hours of characterization, story, and everything meshing together, 10 hours of your true action. I don't know why my color's changing. 10 hours of true action, and then 10 hours of culmination of the story as 40 hours. I think there's something about the 40-hour number that fits outside of the realm of just a number we've chosen arbitrarily. And I think divisible, you could do that 20 hours. You could section it up in the same way. But there's something, I think, when you get to 60 hours, then one of those sections is longer. You know, there's something there that's going to be spread out. There's something there that's going to feel pulled a little bit longer in some of these style of games. But that's just my guess.
Yeah, solid game though. So
solid game, but
but
when I had asked you, maybe 10 or 20 hours in, if you thought it was better than Persona, I believe you said yes. Now though,
I still think it is. Yes,
you still think it's better.
Yeah, because I also hit these snags with pacing and different things in Persona. That was a 120-hour game. I definitely hit these moments where I was a bit burnt out from the socializing, or it was a stint of doing a lot of side quests in a row. And I was like, man, I just want to go back, or doing like a couple rough dungeons back to back with bad weather. So that means like the monsters are ruthless and stuff. So I think it's more that it's just kind of a rough patch there.
I ask people in chat the same thing, if they think 40 is just a number we've come up with arbitrarily, or if there is
maybe
some
it
kind
is
of
like
mathematics.
The halfway, not necessarily halfway point, but approaching that where we've seen already a lot of the systems coming into fruition, and now we're just iterating over them in a way.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, it's good. People are enjoying Metaphor. I'm seeing a bunch of people in here playing it. People are talking about the Monster Hunter Wilds beta, which is coming out. Anybody doing the beta for Monster Hunter Wilds? I think with Monster Hunter Wilds, I don't know if I'm going to do the beta, man.
I'm with you. I almost want to hold off and see the full thing.
Yeah. Like, and you know me, I was not happy at all with Metaphor's demo. I felt that didn't do the game justice. Yeah. Obviously, I think I can say that by seeing the response of people I trust and know we overlap on the same games. I think when I look at it, I'm like, this is for sure it. Robert's got to go. Have a good one, Robert. So I think that they don't always work, and I think I don't need to see what Monster Hunter's offering. I want to see what Monster Hunter offers. I don't want more of just like bits. I'm ready to go ahead and jump in when it's ready and just go from there.
Yeah, I agree.
Javier says, I'm loving the game, though. Can just play on weekends and some evenings. I believe he is talking about Metaphor.
Yeah, he's saying it's a bit
it's a bit long on the tooth. Yeah. Kyle says, I haven't done a lot of Monster Hunter, so I'll probably try the beta to get a feel. That's absolutely fair. Yeah. I think we all land on different sides on this. No answer is right. It's just depends on the game, too.
I think if you know you're going to play the full game and you're not like a hardcore fan where, you need to figure out how the greatsword exactly works in the game. Right. Because that's, super important for you. If you're just going to play through the game, there's no real reason to play the beta, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's pretty
just
fair.
Me.
Robert 714 says, right now I've been playing collectible card game shop simulator. It's addicting. I got to tell you guys, simulator games, their score, their rating don't even fit in the current zeitgeist. If those guys ever say like, you can invest in us for stock or whatever, I probably would. One of the few game companies I would ever invest in, but I just absolutely like stunned at how well they've done. Anyone going to play remastered Horizon Zero Dawn? Yeah, I would like to. I saw some graphics adjustments on that, some side-by-sides, and talked to somebody who apparently has either seen it or maybe they paid way more attention in some side-by-sides than I did. Yeah, a good increase on the graphics. I mean, it still doesn't make sense it's being made in the sense way. It's too soon, but it's still there.
I did see that if you already own the game, because they pulled the original game from the Steam store.
Oh, yeah, they did.
So... But you can get like an upgrade on top of, if you already owned it, let's say. So there's at least that, if you already have the game and you want the upgraded version, there's a path there.
I'm just going to call it out and say I think it's complete utter bullshit. Sony's already done it once. If Microsoft does it, same thing. If Nintendo does the same thing, that's bullshit, pulling the original off and just basically, hoping you didn't get it yet. Yep. And then especially on announcement date, hey, we're doing this. Boom, we've removed the old version. You're like, you pieces of shit. That, I don't know, bothers me. But it is what it is. Let's see. There's no way I'm going to finish Dragon Age before... there's no way I'm going to finish Metaphor before Dragon Age comes out. And to me, that has a bigger pull. Even asked for time off for it. Interesting. Time off for Dragon Age, huh? Nothing wrong with that. When I said interesting... I realized that sounded probably more negative than I wanted it to be. I didn't mean it in that negative way. I meant it more along the lines of, like, it's not a game, even Inquisition, that you hear a lot of people taking days off. I guess I just don't hear people taking days off as often as I used to for games. Maybe that's why. Looking at our chat questions real quick for Discord, Kel says, if we're just floating great games for this season, I'd like to put Phasmophobia at the top of the list with Book of Hours as a much more chill game with a spooky vibe. So there you go. Anybody looking for a horror game? I got a game video coming out soon about it, and Phasmophobia may be on there. Seabear 404 says, in honor of Black Ops 6 release, what is everybody's favorite Call of Duty and why? Bonus question, what is everyone's favorite mission in the series? First of all, no fucking chance I can remember exact missions. Sorry. There's like 8,000 missions by now. But my favorite is going to be the hot take. I do like Infinite Warfare. It just changed things up enough that I just wanted to do something different, and I got what I wanted. What about you? You don't do a lot of Call of Duty, right?
So I'm not a very good person to ask. I remember playing way back in the day. I think it was Black Ops 2, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuck with me as a fantastic game. One of my first, FPS shooters that I played, I think. But yeah, like I said, I'm just not a very good person to ask because I played them very on and off.
Here's where some good writing comes up, because I just saw somebody post this in answer. I asked everybody the same question. I was
Oh.
trying to explain people in chat that like good writing sort of gets lauded for longer is better. Baldur's Gate or Witcher, where you might have a long diatribe or a long kind of like moment in speech. Not always, but a lot of times. Mass Effect. Some of the better parts in Mass Effect are pretty long. Some of the best writing for me. This is going to sound weird, but I got to explain it. Some of the best writing for me is no Russian in Call of Duty, and the reason why is because it's such a small amount of like. You go up in the elevator, they say one or two sentences, and then it's like, and remember, no Russian. And that end point is like the best. There's something about it that when it happened and you realize this is go time, the door opens up, remember, no Russian, you walk out and you're like, holy shit. So instead of you going, wait, what? Instead of somebody, hedging and it was like there was nothing you could do. It almost like I felt like I was pushed out of the elevator. And I'm not going to say Call of Duty does good writing, but there's times where people realize that less is better. And
yeah,
man, that's I remember
cool.
just going out going like, oh, damn, that it hits so well instead of having how a lot of times where you have a character as a bad guy, you and I joke about this, and they got to explain the bad guy for 10 hours. And you're like, dude, he's just a dick. It's okay. The guy's just a killer. The guy's just this. I don't need to hear about his mama because it's not always about your mama. Sometimes you're just
give him a red
shit.
shirt.
Yeah.
He'll look like a bad guy.
Exactly. So I asked people what their favorites were. No Russian came up. I don't remember the name, but SBZ says the mission where he had to take back the White House. I believe that was Medal of Honor 2, wasn't it? Or sorry, Modern Warfare 2. Medal of Honor. The OG Modern Warfare mission where the EMP goes off over DC, Deagle says. And you can see it from space. Gotcha. Shrek says, Call of Duty 4, by far my fave. The way they bounce the map so you could have actual sniper fights across the map and still have run and gun be equally viable is crazy. The map design in Call of Duty 4 is next level. Those are all fair. Somebody says my audio's cutting out. Sorry. I apologize if it is. I'll make sure I'm closer to the mic. Let's see. The Spaniard says, is there a dormant IP that you would like to see come back to life? He says, I'd like to see Jack and Dexter. Is there anything for you?
Dormant. It's a good one. I'd like to see more Mega Man. I'd like to see like a full 3D Mega Man adventure. That could be fun.
Were you a Mega Man fan when you were a kid?
Yeah. I played, I think it was Mega Man 10 and 11 a lot. And I loved, there was something about getting the upgrades because so you had the normal, pew pea shooter, and then you would get different upgrades. Some would have like, maybe it's ice, or maybe another one, you have a utility thing with it. And it was pretty ingenious how they did those. So that could be really cool.
Dormant is weird, right? Like, what does dormant really mean?
Right. Just waiting, just there lurking.
Yeah, just there waiting in the shadows, like dormant. I guess thief. Like, I mean, maybe. I mean, I would love to see a shadow run, I guess. So you could say, and that's pretty dormant.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that's a good one. Kel says Jade Empire, please. Yeah, I would love a Jade Empire. I don't care. I heard somebody, I think it might even been the developer of the game, the main guy of the game was saying, there's some issues with that game in today's current market. And I don't think there is, man. I think we are now coming out of everybody freaking out about everything and sort of getting a little bit more solidified. And I think if you started a game now, by the time you came out, Jade Empire was never overtly on purpose mean. It's just had some caricatures and which, by the way, isn't something you don't see in real life. You do see some caricatures in real life. There are some of those things that real life can, we may not like, or they may not make everybody super comfortable. But I would love to see a Jade Empire. You never played that, right?
No. I've heard a lot about it through you guys.
Iggy says, what's the scariest or creepiest monster you've ever faced in a game? Resident Evil enemies that slowly follow you around the area like Mr. X creep the out of me.
Dude, very simple. Big ass baby in Resident Evil 8 Village. There is one sequence where there's a giant baby chasing you around. and that will haunt me forever. The cries of the baby, and as it's like crawling sometimes, I mean, yeah, just some psychological thing there.
Big ass babies. I thought, you said village. I thought you meant I thought you were going to say, the 19-foot lady, but yeah.
No, because that was the one thing I knew about the game going into it, because it got so, so much publicity. So I already knew about all that before I even started.
I don't have a scare stand in me, but I will say the one that I think universally creeps me out in movies or what have you, or universally indicates to me this person, there's something wrong, is either jet black eyes or milky clouded eyes. So like you'll see the oldster in a movie, like a prophet who's got the cloudy cataract filled eyes, and they're telling a story. You get the demon who's got jet black eyes, super dark eyes. You see it a lot of times in Supernatural, the TV show, and that kind of stuff is just, it's not for me. It always creeps me out. Let's see. So Iggy's done with that. Moving on from there. Thank you very much for the questions. We have some questions in our Twitter that we'll get to in a second. Let's see. Let me open this. Oh, Sonic, by the way, did you see this? Sonic X Shadow Generation surpassed 1 million units.
Whoa.
1 million. Yeah. That is a bit of a sleeper, nuts.
That one. Just selling behind the scenes. Not a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah, dude. The thing is I don't know if you've seen this. There have been so many games selling really well that I didn't expect. And like Sparkling Cider sold insanely well. I mean, I expected it to do well, but damn, like they announced those numbers and I was like, holy shit. That did well. Looking here, what is it? Refactorio? One of those just came out and did a new version and sold
expansion.
Yeah, let me read this to you, dude. Listen to this. So here it is. Factorio Space Age passed 400,000 copies sold since release last week.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's huge for them.
Dude, it's crazy. And I'm not saying that all games are going to sell well. I think people mistake one game doing well or random games doing well for everything being perfect. That's sort of like saying a really cold winter means there's not global warming. It doesn't make any, it's not really always the same indicator. But yeah. Yeah, dude, super excited for them, man. That was great. And then you had said you had a couple topics or one that you wanted to bring up.
I saw something about Netflix. They had a AAA game dev studio where they had poached a few big names from other studios, like
one of the Halo guys.
Here. Yeah, one of the Halo guys, an ex-God of War art director. Mm-hmm. Rafael Grassetti, so they had some big names there, and the studio has closed. So they closed the studio, and it's interesting. I hope these people land in other, good studios. But it's interesting to me because Netflix feels like they have tried desperately to get on the gaming scene. They're pushing the games. You always go into your Fire Stick, and at the top, it's like, play these games and stuff. But do you think because they targeted mobile gaming, do you think that's the reason maybe it didn't work out? Where if we saw, imagine this, like just like Amazon Game Studios, if we have like Netflix Game Studios and they, put a lot of money, they make a big AAA PC, Xbox, PS5 game. Do you think that would have been a more consistent way to like get into the gaming scene?
Dude, it might have, but here's the thing. I don't think anything would have outlasted Netflix. Netflix has had so many issues. Netflix just doesn't make money. It's still got all kinds of problems. But Netflix also changes their tactics way too quick. Games take 5 to 6 years to make, and they just were not prepared for that length of time, I guess. And the fact is like, it wasn't too long ago when we heard they were spooling this up. And what happened? Everybody in chat, when we heard they were spooling it up, everybody's like, that thing is not going to last, because they just don't have the staying power for game development. Dude, game development is not streaming. Like, there's streaming. Sometimes they're pulling movies out of their asses in 13 to 14 months streaming. So meaning sign Move forward, boom, done.
Wow.
In games, that is insanely rare, if just sort of unheard of, unless they're, there's some zeitgeist behind them and they get really lucky. But a AAA game, AA game, it's not going to happen. They don't have the staying power. They don't, they're run too much by everybody else. It's a little bit like Ubisoft, where, you want to watch out with how much, like, you sort of react to what people are saying versus what you want to do internally. Ooh, sorry. That scared the hell out of me. Getting a delivery. Christopher Jetzer, I apologize, people. You just have to listen to the fine singing voices of my dogs for a momento. Christopher Jetzer says, I want a BioShock. I know Judas is coming, but I thought a new BioShock was supposed to be coming. There's a new BioShock coming, though. Right? I thought they even announced a BioShock 4. Yeah.
I don't know if we've seen anything.
I'm going to mute myself real quick. Do you have a bit of news to cover while I go get these dogs and verify if they're being attacked by a Bigfoot? Okay, hang on.
So there's something we need to mention about League of Legends, actually, that's been popping up. And it's the fact that their monetization has been outrageous recently. So they've come up with, well, first of all, I think it started off with someone can correct me, but I think it was a $250 skin. And so that's what it started as. And then the excuse of that was they're celebrating one of the biggest players in the esports scene, guy named Faker. Okay. Right. They created an amazing skin for a champion that he plays. And they said, listen, if you want to, support and go for the $250 skin, there it is. Now, from there, what they've done is they now released 2 skins that you cannot actually buy directly. Mm-hmm. The only way to get those skins is by playing like gacha loot boxes.
Oh, gotcha.
Until you get them. And the rub there is that you can I think you could spend like $200 and that will guarantee you get that rare skin or whatever. But outside of that, you only have like a 1% chance of getting it in the loot box. So it's effectively a $200 skin if you actually want to buy it and secure it. So those were now 2 skins that came out with that since then. There was also another one in the past that they did. And now there are rumors that there's a new $250 skin for another champion called Jinx, another champion from the TV show as well. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's getting to the point where it's pretty disgusting. And it's still only cosmetic and completely optional. There's no need for you to buy these skins. Right. But people still do, right? And it's working. And so I think they are seeing this and they're saying, let's keep doing it. But I'm afraid this is going to be a slippery slope where now the skins are going to be released with this standard of like, hey, you either have to pay $200 to get it, or you only have a chance to get it in a loot box, instead of being able to buy a skin directly like you did before for like $10, or $15.
Yeah, I don't know how much time versus and risk for reward RNG for getting items, how much they cost in real life or don't cost in real life. But I do feel that since there are no rules, and there never will be a rule for that, and, unless you just outlaw a bunch of stuff, because companies have so many different ways to monetize or side monetize, I feel like we just sort of have to pick and choose the game we're going to support. And, a game like that's been around for a while, we do start to over time see monetization creep into those games, probably to pay for the lack of sales that continue. And I'm not defending businesses. I'm literally talking about how business works. Like, it happens. That is sort of how business works, especially if you have people continuing on it. And luckily, or hopefully, it takes forever for that to happen. And luckily, or hopefully, you can play it and get everything. That's the end all to me, is that I can get everything. I don't like gotcha stuff, though. And to me, gotcha is the reason why it bothers me with gotcha is I feel it's the same as a loot box anyway, and that they just change the fucking name, and that somehow it shows and this is not talking to anybody in chat, it's not dissing anybody, but I'm just going to say this. Somehow it shows just how inadequate, shallow, and unrealistic in the expectations a lot of gamers have towards understanding anything that's going on, that there's quick Twitch reactions and then oh, okay, we fixed that. And they walk away, where somebody like me is looking at it going, no, we didn't. What are you talking about? You know, we just changed. It's like Idiocracy, or like a comedy where the person's like, they smile after they just killed somebody. Everybody's like, he's probably a good guy then. And people just move on. And that, it seems to happen with a lot of these games as they sit around. I don't know. Has this game had monetization since day one? Was it skins?
Yes, but honestly, it's always been great because, you know, you pay for skins if you like them. And it used to be like, I don't know if it's 10, 15 bucks for a skin. You know, some are higher
easy to
tier.
parse is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like if you like the skin and you want to help out the game, you know, here's 20 bucks or whatever. So I think it's great. I'm just, as someone who does like to sometimes buy a skin for a champion that I play to, you know, help out. Yeah. I put in the hours, I enjoy it. I just don't want to see it go down the route of the loot box, you know, where I can't even buy the skin unless I decide to pay 200 bucks for it. I actually have to, like you say, do the loot boxes for it.
Yeah, the RNG thing is what bothers me, because there's, especially, let's say you have 2 items with RNG. This is not necessarily a great description, but if one item's got RNG, you can look at it and go, okay, that one particular item has it. But when you introduce 2 items with RNG, a little bit of complexity confuses people really quickly. And the idea of having multiple items with RNG and then all of these things, I see a lot of people just saying, whatever, I want it, so I'm just going to do this. And there's almost like a breaking of the will that happens with somebody if they want that particular thing. We can all say we're iron-willed, we never do it, but the fact of the matter is like, that's not all it's about. It's not just about, like, you know, your own personal will. There's some definite oddities in gaming traditions when it comes to monetization. But then we jump on stuff that I look at and I'm like, dude, really? We're jumping on that, but we're not jumping on this thing over. Like, we're so messed up sometimes. And a lot of times it just has to do with, do you like the company? Like, I'm happy you say it, you like the company and you're still bitching. Dude, do you know how many people I see where I can tell you a lot of the drama video game YouTubers, I'm like, there will not be a video made on this, no matter how bad it is. There will not be a video. Either they like them or it's not a part of their current I'm bitching about this company club. And yet it's very good data gamers should have. And so at least you're saying you like the game and you're still bothered by it, because a lot of people would put their
you know, it's technically a nitpick because it doesn't affect gameplay. This is all cosmetic. So we're still in the realm of
not affecting
benign microtransactions, you know? Yeah.
It's a weird one, man. I don't know. Very, very different. Love making videos, says Star Citizen, says, what? Yeah, Star Citizen's a weird one too, because like I just saw somebody release a video that was completely wrong about insurance and all this stuff. And I was watching it going, what the that's actually wrong. Nobody's going to call them on it. I mean, there's so many videos, so much creation going on that a lot of it comes down to you and me sitting at the game. And this is why I said we all have to come to grips. It's basically you, me, whoever's playing the game has to sit down and really come to grips with it themselves. There is no overarching group that's going to control this. And I don't know if we would want to anyway. We hear that a lot of times. It's like, oh, do you really want, like, let's say the government being involved? Probably not. You know, there's certain groups you don't want. I was talking to people about different games. Somebody had mentioned that they wanted BioShock, but then also Love Making the Game said Legacy of Kain needs a reboot. Jack and Dexter is another one. Multiple people seem to really like Jack and Dexter. Love Making Video says Vampire Masquerade. Yeah, I think, and he was talking about number 2 being messed up in development hell. Yeah, number 2, whatever it is, I mean, what they've shown, that is nothing like the original game. They might as well change the name to, like, just, I don't know, just Vampire, because it is nothing like the original that they sort of sold people as a sequel to it, which is very weird. Let's see. People bash for League of Legends for that, but meanwhile, Riot's been the fairest non-pay-to-win company ever. Is that true? Would you say they're one of the fairest?
Yeah, in the sense that the microtransactions don't affect gameplay at all.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's what you were saying
say,
at the starting anyway.
Yeah, I would say just like Dota 2, yeah, they're completely fair. I just don't like the gotchas, like the loot box system to get a skin. Basically, that's my only complaint.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but it's like if you play 2 or 3 games and people are over here bitching about another game and the 2 or 3 games you're playing don't have them, then they have them. That's your right. Not only your right, but sort of the expectation is you speak up about the games you are playing. So just because you have an issue with these doesn't mean you wouldn't have an issue with others, but no one person's going to be able to cover every game. Even though I tried for 2 full years, did not work. Too many games, but I did try. Moving on from there, talking about some current information when it comes to games and games being coming out. New World, bunch of people playing New World. There's another one. The what is it? Throne and Liberty. Is that the other one that's come out? I think it's Throne and Liberty, another MMO style game. But I feel like MMOs have sort of exploded lately. Like in the past month or so, it feels like just all of a sudden we're getting a bunch of people in our Discord being like, oh, dude, I'm doing this MMO. I'm doing that one. You don't return to anything, though, right? Yours is Final Fantasy. And
no, and I will never return to that either. So
really?
It will, it will have to be a different type of MMO where it's not tab selecting gameplay.
Oh, gotcha.
Because
so that's just the killer now for you?
Yeah, that was sort of the killer for me. Yeah.
Why do you think, did it creep up on you? Was it fine for a while and then, you just realized that's not?
It was also like sunken cost because I had already put a lot of hours into the game. Mm-hmm. And you know how it is. Oh, there's a new expansion and people are saying they cried their hearts out because it's so amazing. Mm-hmm. And I felt like, well, do you know what? I'm just going to put in a few more hours and check it out. And of course, I was disappointed every single time. It was never a story. In my opinion, it wasn't a story better than any other Final Fantasy that I've played, which is one of the claims. Like some people were saying, dude, the story is better than any other Final Fantasy. And that was not true. The gameplay was not fun for me because the tab selecting got super old very quickly. And the stuff where you just have these rotations of 25 skills that you have to go through in the exact same order every time becomes mind-numbing to me.
So did you wake up and go, this is bad today? Sorry, that I'm not trying to be derogatory towards you.
I think it snuck up on me. I know what you mean.
Okay. Because I think you and I talked about this, but dude, there's something that's weird with me. I can feel the drop-off occurring. And I'm really cognizant of my own feelings. I don't know if it's because, when you work out, you want to be at good energy or what have you. And so I've become accustomed to it, but I'll be playing a game and I can feel it pop. I'll be like, uh-oh. And, and I dude, there's been times where I'm like, maybe I should I stop for a second or should I continue to see if there's something new? And it's only maybe a 15 or 20 minute time frame where my brain will be like, done. And it drops off and I'm like, this one thing now bothers me officially. And then it's sort of set in stone at that point. Do you feel like you sort of went with that with this? Do you remember a battle you were playing and you're like, this ain't for me?
I think it was the latest expansion. I was trying to push myself through it and I just realized I just don't enjoy the moment to moment, I like the music, I like the setting and stuff. But then there's so many things of the moment to moment, the gameplay itself that I don't like. That was also the issue with ESO. It's got some amazing production values and great content they make. But I just really wasn't enjoying the combat itself.
Well, Kraus says if you are looking to get into one, he says at least New World's not tab targeting. So you don't have to worry.
Hear that. Yeah. And I heard the remake, not remake, but like the inventing they did on it, relaunch is pretty decent. So yeah, I could look into it.
Yeah,
but I'm right now I'm at the point where I need something to tip me significantly towards checking out an MMO. There needs to be like something really pulling me in and interesting me because I've kind of been a bit not let down in a way, just I don't think it's for me so far,
Man, dude, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's completely fair. I mean, it happens, whether it happens in a game or it happens at the end of the game when you realize another game's coming and your brain no longer wants that other game. We've all
Yeah.
had it, at some point, and sometimes it burns off and sometimes it's there. People are talking about the various different games. Kig says, also, at least New World's not survival, which is what I thought it was trying to be. That's what Kig's saying. Stefan says, new style is good, but man, the best bits were when all the game reinforced the original and gameplay. Okay, they're talking about something different. Sorry. Ava says, I did not enjoy the gameplay and combat in God of War 2018 and decided not to pick up Ragnarok, hoping they switch up some stuff. Yeah, I've heard that before on a lot of the action games that have the 2 sequel thing. And I don't know if it's a 2 sequel thing versus a 3, but there's been a couple games where I've noticed that like people, even if they have 3, the second one for a lot of people isn't their highest, which is interesting to me because in movies, a lot of times you'll hear the second one is the one that nails it. B1G Duck says, I think it was the combat of newer MMOs. I can hate on New World, but the combat was fun. Okay, that's fair. Kig says Persona 5 Royale. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. Flip Cup, $10 super chat. Just want to say hi, happy Friday, and hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you very much, sir. I will see you in the Discord if you don't stick around. Appreciate it. Hope you're having a good week. Ava Plays says the new Lords of the Fallen, I had to leave because it felt way too janky, like a jankier Dark Souls. And I'm someone who plays a lot of Souls-likes and Souls games. Okay. Kig says he used to love JRPGs. Now, if they aren't action, I drop that like bird poop on a car. All right.
Okay, that's...
It specifically indicates he had a problem with a particular bird in his car. Like those, I feel that
Yeah,
story is
true.
there. Southwick says, Alien Isolation broke me, just spent too much time hiding. Yeah, I mean, games that are built on that hide and seek merry-go-round of fuckery, sometimes I have a tendency to be able to really dive into and be fine, but a lot of times there'll be something that'll pop up and I'll be like, seriously, I'm hiding again. It's almost like you wish they would change up the end game a little bit, not to let you attack, but do something different or give you another reason to do these particular things. And it's just not a thing. Vapor for Blood said, I tried to play Diablo 4 many times. It feels vacuous. Killing endless mobs to farm better equipment to kill more endless mobs a bit faster. I mean, I think that's fair, right? That is quite literally exactly what those games are. Sorry, we have some big thunder and lightning out here outside the house. I just realized that. I don't think they're any different. I mean, Diablo, Path of Exile, even the old Torchlight games. It's all pretty much just I mean, MMOs are like that. You're just getting better. You're getting better equipment, going on, doing better things. Doesn't seem too surprising.
By the way, I wanted to ask you, did you get a chance to check out A Quiet Place? So they did a game. I'm assuming it's based on the movie.
No, and I'm mad. When that was originally offered to me, they stated it was VR, and I didn't have enough time to go and look and find out apparently it's not just VR. So I turned it down because the honest truth is I just didn't want to get everything set up when I was in the midst of what I thought was going to be some other reviews for some other games. Now I'm mad because I could have taken it, because another game, they ghosted me on it, and I could have covered it, and even more so, it was a normal game. So it's easier to get coverage for. You know how it is with VR. Trying to get coverage for a VR game is very difficult. Trying to cover a VR game just doesn't. It doesn't look very good on a review, And then also another thing, Prince of Persia devs, Ubisoft basically reported it just unfortunately didn't do great, and Ubisoft pulled those guys, disintegrated that team, but then in the same meantime indicated that there is a new Rayman coming out and that those people are moving on to that. And I'm actually excited because I would love to see Rayman. And Prince of Persia I had some glitches with, so it didn't leave the best taste in my mouth. So I'm glad most of those people, it sounds like, landed on their feet. Again, I can't say for every single one of them, but I think with Ubisoft, they have a tendency to move people internally anyway. And I want to see a new Rayman. Rayman's probably way before your time, right?
Yeah, I never got to play those.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Yeah, those are great, man. I love me some Rayman games. What else we got for news? Got anything hot to trot? Anything
Let's see.
Boiling up? that you just have to talk about?
We did talk about in the voice chat that Nintendo released this Alarmo thing, right? The alarm clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, like, what do you make of it? Is it just like a funny thing, or do you think they're trying to get into the
fitness
smart
watch kind of
device?
stuff? I didn't think about that.
Or
Good
is
point.
it a new product line?
I mean,
You're
dude,
gonna have the Nintendo Watch synced up with like.
So Johnny, you have a good point though. Think about it this way. Think about it this way. Apple and Nintendo have a lot of similarities in many ways, in particular their fandom and people's belief that their stuff is made very reliably, you know, like compared to, let's say, some of the other manufacturers. I could see them having a Nintendo spinning off a baby division of technology and being like, here's your Nintendo Watch. And it does, I don't know what it would track. I don't know what Japanese developers are cool with tracking with, you know, body wise, how cool they are with openly tracking like your different stats and stuff. They're probably just as cool as everybody else with it, but you never know. Yeah, I could see a Nintendo Watch, you know, but I mean, I wouldn't want it to look like a fucking Luigi's face. That's the problem, is the design for Apple has a very particular look. The Samsung, Apple, they've got a very particular look. Nintendo's got a pretty particular look. Don't you think Nintendo stuff would look like toys? And I don't know if I want a toy on my wrist, you know? Like, I'm trying to even, I have a bunch of watches and all of them are definitely on the more modern or elegant side than they are. Or
like a sort of just black, you know, understated or something.
Well, not me. I could definitely say a couple of my watches are definitely not understated, but I like those. Yeah, I do have
like the big ones or something.
I do have a couple Saints Row watches. I'll call them that. I remember because Takedown collects watches and so do I, and there were a couple that we were bouncing back and forth, and you know they're pretty gaudy. There's a lot of dials on them and a lot of crazy stuff, but you know they capture your eye, right? There's something about that analog face that I liked. Powder Keg says that Nintendo clock is overpriced. I mean, absolutely, for sure. I don't think anybody's going to disagree. It is for sure overpriced. Dill Donkers says, are you guys going to play Monster Hunter? I think we agreed that for us, Monster Hunter will probably be just something we play and when it's on release. Avoid the Void says, check out Windblown. I would agree. Anybody who hasn't got a chance, Windblown is awesome. Windblown is absolutely worth checking out. Really good game. Super enjoyable. I think
that
we've got
was
2 or 3
early
people
access,
playing
right?
It's early access,
now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it looked pretty damn good.
Yeah. I mean, I won't cover most early access games. And when I saw that one, I was like, that seems awesome. Oh, here we go. Stefan was nice enough to say, I believe A Quiet Place picks up sounds you make. I believe in Quiet Place, the game picks up sounds you make over your mic.
That could be a cool mechanic. Like you actually have to stay silent.
Can I just explain that I agree normally, but not if I'm playing the pancake version, because when I'm playing a video game to play a video game pancake version, I usually don't want my mic down. This kind of mic. So VR, that's one big plus with VR, is the mic is near your face anyway, because it's hanging off of the VR.
Yeah, you probably don't want to play with, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's in your, you're trying to play and it's like right in your face, so you can't see your HUD. Yeah, I usually have it off to the side, which then doesn't pick up the best anyway. Let's see, look in here.
I have
Witchfire
to
on Steam
talk about
as well. Yeah, go for it.
Do you want to talk about that? I didn't hear what you were saying, sorry.
Oh, you just said Witchfire is now on Steam. That was it. What were you saying?
That was the shooter, right? The magic shooter. Okay. I was going to bring up that some people were outraged because Microsoft CEO Nadella got a huge compensation this year in stock, and you know, because of all the layoffs and everything that have happened in Microsoft, and going back to, you know, sorry, I'm blanking on the studio name now that did the rhythm game that was very popular, but they still...
Hi-Fi Rush?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So the studio behind that got sacked, and yeah, just massive layoffs, right? And yeah, the CEO got a really big bump this year. So I wanted to hear from you, like, is there a tension there where we would expect in a bad year where they've had to sack studios? Would we expect executives to see their pay, like, diminished, or maybe just not increase? Or is that an unhealthy sign for us to see, or is it just business? What do you make of it?
I think multiple companies I've worked at had completely different CEO bonus settings than, say, I did. It was related to all kinds of stuff, and they had very specific things. You had to achieve this and that and this and that. Where my bonus settings were a little bit more obscure. In fact, a lot of times I didn't know what my bonus would be. So it's hard to speak to that. But most companies have different bonuses for different places and different things you have to achieve. But it's a bad look no matter what, because of the environment is the way it currently is, and because it's currently good to look down upon the high. Like, even I see that, even I feel it, but I can do it and still go, I know what I'm doing, which is doing that. A lot of people would be under the assumption, oh, I know what we'll do. Don't give them bonuses, therefore you'll keep the company like afloat. But then you have to keep the company afloat. Then you have to make a game. Then you have to pay them continually past a certain. There's all kinds of weird things. There's not a equilibrium. I just think it would be nice if we didn't hear. I don't want to. The bonus thing has always been weird to me because, like, let's say you run the company like shit, but then your last quarter you do really well, and so then you get a bonus. I think even in my old jobs, I probably wouldn't. It was more of spread out over your time. Like, what did you do? I think retention is super popular, or is super important. I also think good, smart business is super important. And Microsoft exploded during COVID, just like a lot of people did. And they built out, a lot of these companies built out. I would love to have hammered them then and been like, dude, we're going to hammer you. Like, why are you building out? Because you're just setting us up for failure later. But you can never win. Yeah, it's pretty stupid. I don't like CEO bonuses. I think it'd be better if it was just maybe just stock or something, so you don't get a number and it's just like, hey, if this does better, you do better. But the other thing I would like is for employees to all get stock. If you're a stock company, I love the idea of, and most companies I've worked for have done this, where every paycheck you got a pinprick of stock purchased for you, and it went up and down. On the other hand, if your company doesn't do well, I've had people say, I wish you hadn't given me the money for the stock. I wish you had just given me the extra $25 a month or something. So you can't win no matter what. Somebody will come at you later. But I do like the idea of stocks for people. Like giving people stock. I think that it helped. When I was working at Hewlett-Packard, you could definitely see people were very invested after a particular time. Maybe not right away, but after a time, they were very invested in success. They were like, because it was helping them as a company. But yeah, can't win. I think the bonuses, I wish they could go away, but I don't know, I don't know another way to do bonuses. I mean, there's thousands of ways. I'm just saying, I don't know how you replace the system in place as well. It's really,
and also someone was saying that's like the CEO of Microsoft. The gaming division is only one part of Microsoft.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Microsoft's actual Microsoft, that is a completely different success story.
It's a behemoth, right?
It's a behemoth. Yeah. And people make that mistake all the time. They're like, oh, I can't believe blah, blah, blah. And it's like, whoa. You're right. That is a problem over here. There are some issues here, but over here, which is the entire, Microsoft is so big, it's hard to even track, man. It's hard to even track that they have more people than I think 10 of my hometown. Like, my brain doesn't, I just look at it and I'm like, whoa, wait, what?
Wow.
At my old job where we worked at HP, there were more people on the facility than my town. That is, like, it doesn't track very easily when you realize how big some of these places are and how wide spanning they are. Let's see. I just think of bonuses like Clark Griswold's Jelly of the Month Club. Yeah, that's a good movie, by the way. I love that you mentioned that. Let's see. What else do we got? Base everything on likes. No. Oh my God.
I did see, Eric, that the Fallout London mod announced 1 million players That's a pretty good number for them. It's cool to see.
I wonder if
some big games.
Does anybody in chat know? Do they have a buy me a coffee or something? I wonder if they're getting anything. Do they have a patron page? Maybe they've got a patron page. I guess
I
it
would
would make
imagine
sense,
so.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like we've talked about this before. Mods, paid for mods. None of us want to see every mod be paid for. I don't care. I love giving people money. I love that people want to subscribe and they get shit from me and you get shit from those mods. But the idea that every mod would be paid for is like, oh my God, we're there. Everything's monetized. But at the same time, Fallout isn't just a mod. Like it's, you know what I mean? I mean, it is a mod, but it's its own thing.
Yeah. And there are levels of mods, like I may not want to pay for an inventory mod, but hey, if you're creating a bunch of content, that makes sense.
Yeah. Let's see. Give everybody V-Bucks. Oh, God. Yeah, corporation talk always bothers me unless it's a very corporate situation going on because you can never win. Because it's a non-winning side. Corporate isn't even about, it sounds like it's about winning, but for the normal person, it's not. It's like, it's the corporation that's doing it. So moving on from there, let's talk about good shit for a little bit. So, No Man's Sky. Another
new content, right?
Another section of new content. This one based a little Halloween-y, little creepy. I believe they turned off interstellar flight, and you have to use like old warp gates to move around. There was a lot of little creepy stuff. But once again, man, a whole new. I don't know about if this bothers you, Johnny. A lot of this content is expeditions, meaning it's not there all the time. I think that's the only thing that bothers me a little bit. Is No Man's Sky is offering so much that I'm hoping there's a way to see it all, or track it all, but there's so much it's hard for me to even understand if you can. But I don't know. There's just a ton going on. Did you see any of this?
I was looking at it right now, actually looking at news, and the one thing that seems to be the main feature is that you're getting haunting voices in your comms, like telling you stuff.
Oh, like Ghosts in the Machine kind of stuff?
Yeah. And then you have to figure out, like, where's it coming from? What is this guidance they're giving you and stuff? The problem is the game already suffers from really vague
yes
dialogue lines
I get
that you're trying to make sense of.
Yeah.
So adding to that cacophony, I don't know if it's productive.
Dude, that's a good point, because that's the initial issue I've always had with No Man's Sky is that it's
nothing is going anywhere in a sense.
Just it's all steam, no water, right?
Yeah.
There's stuff there, but you can't, you can't touch it. You can't grab it, but you can see it and you can experience it. And you're like, well, this is fucking wicked, but I can't grab onto anything. And I would, dude, it's a good point about No Man's Sky that, if you try to add in some of this stuff, you're doubling down on that initial thing. I mean, it's great though. I will say it's so wide. I wish it was deeper as a game. They do have systems that you can buy and they have all that kind of stuff, but I do find myself now gravitating towards more mechanically complex games and now away from No Man's Sky. So even with these call-ups of amazing free new content, which can't be underplayed, I've now found myself replaying X4 Foundations or jumping into some more complex space game because the wide is great, but sometimes it's just too fucking wide. It's just she's too
wide.
thick. Yeah. And I love that it's got that ability for you to, you can put your thing down, you can set up stuff, but after a while you can tell it doesn't feel as permanent. And I think the other thing is when they change the world seed, which they've done now, I don't know how many times, but they change the world seed, you can go back to your location and fucking nobody has a proper building anymore. And I know that it's so cool that you can do that, but I built a building. This is like I can't remember, 2 or 3 years ago. And it was with Abzy. We built a building on a planet. And by the way, world's shittiest building. Like barely was standing up. But it wasn't for that. It was so we were testing stuff and we were like, hey, let's build this here so we can teleport. And then I went back to it about 2 or 3 months ago when they did the big graphics update. and I couldn't even recognize anything. And the ground was over my door.
Yeah.
You know, so there's this tiny spirit of loss that I have when I start to think about building anything in No Man's Sky, and that there is a chance that in some far-flung future, my amazing
permanent.
thing will be under the ground or something. Yeah, that it's not permanent. That permanence in that game is really only in 6 months increments, you know? It's like trimesters or something, but... yeah, is that, oh, absolutely. You said, oh God, we just wanted storage. Yeah, we just wanted storage. I forgot. That is exactly it. We were like, let's build. I'm pretty utilitarian in my building until I get enough to where you can frivolously build. Does that make sense? I don't like to build and use a bunch of resources up front until I have so many that building a bunch of shit up front doesn't impact my overall resources. So we were like, let's have storage. And that fit our gameplay style. So we built this thing, and we did. Dude, it was bad. It was Jeremiah Johnson bad. It was like out Cabin in the Woods bad. It was fun to build. I will say that they have a good building system. There was some confusion still, though. I think
it's come a long way, but yeah,
it has. But their HUD, man, come on, man. Even now, after centuries of this game being made, their HUD is still ultimately not great.
Yeah, they have a new HUD for it, which is nice because now you have at least a proper view. But yeah, it's still. And by the way, if people are thinking about building an underwater base, think twice, because that thing is going to last you 15 minutes and then it's going to get flooded the next time you come back from a trip, and it's going to break your heart.
No Man's Sky, dude, it's awesome. Despite those issues,
you can do a lot of,
it's, I mean, we all hate procedural generation, right? But here we are looking at a game that's hyper successful, built quite literally on the super formula, or their versions of the super formula, their versions of procedural generation. And it shows that at the very minimum, you can do what they've done right now. And there's so much more you can do, and add story would be great, right? We've talked about that. Something that Judas is trying to do. If you look at how Ken Levine's talking about putting together the story elements of Judas and different things happen at different times, there's going to be some sort of what you would consider to be procedural, you know, Lego narrative as he discusses it. If they teamed up, you know, you might be able to actually deliver a story that made some fucking kind of sense. I also think with No Man's Sky, they love to be obscure. And so about the 90th time a guy says, you've learned the word rocket in, you know,
potato
in Groglockian or whatever, you're all okay. Now I'm actually like at the point to where I don't even know what words I'm learning anymore, because there's so much chaff in that game, but still highly enjoyable, man. So great. Dylan says, I'm hoping No Man's Fire's combat is a step up from No Man's Sky. Listen, Light No Fire's combat, unless you can't fight, will be a step up, right? No Man's Sky's combat is
pretty much the lowest denominator.
Wet, stinky, on the side of a street corner, trash. It is trash. I'm not talking about space flight. You know that. I should probably ping that up.
Yeah, fighting the sentries in No Man's Sky is what's the opposite of a peak experience? It's a bottom experience?
I mean, well, it's a trough. If you're talking about dipping down, that would be
trough experience. There you go.
Ava Plays says Remnant does it pretty well. Yeah. Oh, you mean procedural generation? Yeah. They do randomness and procedural a bit.
They don't do a ton of like random, but yeah, there's enough there that does add to it.
What's other games that you guys like in chat that are that have a procedural element? It doesn't have to be everything. Or there's a part of procedural element or part of randomness. We can overlap them. They're not the same thing, but we'll overlap them for the conversation. That surprised you guys or you liked. So, for example, Remnant has some stuff, but there's also some stuff we've seen for like games with quest directors. Like, that's one thing I was talking to the guys about in chat is like, when you look at Left 4 Dead, which sort of highlighted the quest director entire, almost like a fifth seat in the game, where it's this AI looking over and deciding it's been too quiet, we're going to throw something in, which is what Remnant does, and it's what the other game that we were just playing does. Space Marine. Space Marine, you can sort of tell if you split up and go too far for a little while, you're like, there's going to be guys dropping in. Like, this is just sort of the randomness of it. I like all that. I actually think it adds, I think with Space Marine, that added Space Marine would have sucked if you could just run around with no enemies if you killed them all, especially the Tyranid stuff. I like that there was always a risk. Mm-hmm.
Keeps you on your toes. You gotta.
It keeps you on your toes. I will say it's a little aggressive. There were times where we were playing and I feel like I was just backing up to reload. I was like just getting to another spot, just finally for a brief second.
Here's 2 more spawns of Terminators.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and you just be like, oh, come on.
Man.
I think the one nice thing is in that level that you and I dislike those guys in particular. If I remember right, the first area when you go into the throne room, I think you can kill all them though. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
They all can die and you kill the mage who spawns and then you go through the door. And I think for those areas, I think it's the Tyranid areas in particular, I notice a bunch of bad guys popping up. More so than any other area.
Yeah, there are some areas where you can get bombarded with. There was this one specific area, Carrick, you'll remember, where we come up on like a flooded open area where Tyranids are fighting rogue chaos. Sorry, they're called chaos.
Oh yeah, rogue chaos Marines. Yeah,
and they're fighting each other, and we're fighting them. And it's got this sort of like body of water that you can cross. It's just shallow water, but in that area, dude, you can get so many spawns.
Yeah,
you just see the pods dropping, right? Because you see the smoke of a new spawn, and it's like when you think you're done, there are 2 more behind you.
And the thing about that game in particular is just because it's set up the way it is and with the ammo the way it is, if things don't work out, you know, and that extra spawn happens, you're in that point of do I just run? And I know that sounds weird, but as a space marine, I don't want to run. I'm a space marine, man. We will tactically retreat or tactically, de-advance, but I don't like running away because I'm out of bullets. And in that game, there's times where you're like, okay, we're pretty screwed for everything. I mean, it happened to us for sure. Still,
I like the survival like instinct of like, okay, we have to run because I'm out of bullets. We're gonna die here. For the good of the mission, we have to.
That's why I love playing with you guys, because when we jump into a game, most all of us feel the same, I think, about how most all of us play the same. So when I jump in with you guys, we have a certain way of talking, we have a certain way of discussing what's going on around us. And when one of us is like, dude, we got to go. Even if somebody disagrees, for the most part, if like somebody pulls a trigger, we're like, okay. And then we go and we may talk about it later. But there's something about our group that I've noticed is very good about just being like, dude, we got to cut this. Like, we got to go. It's not working out. Like, we just have to escape. Those kind of group games are the best. I mean, and it doesn't happen all the time, too. There's a lot of times where you jump into those games, they don't feel the best, or you don't have the best group, where it's just not a super enjoyable group. What's some of your favorite games where, what's some of your favorite defeats? Let's talk about that. So you can't have made it away. Has there ever been a mission you did with, I want to talk about co-op in particular, where you were doing a co-op mission, like let's say Remnant or SnowRunner or what have you, and you got right to the end and it failed, but it still felt ultimately super rewarding, where you got done and you were like, you know what? Yeah, we lost. I don't give a fuck. That was awesome. Have you ever had one of those? Yeah.
I think we had quite a few of those epic moments in Space Marine where, it was on a knife's edge, whether or not we're going to make it. And some we didn't, like I remember that dragon boss where you have to coordinate with each other to hit the symbols. And we're trying to identify the symbols. And it's like, you hit the cupcake, I'll hit the fucking skull, right? And then like sometimes we just barely didn't make it because of spawns and everything together. But yeah, ultimately those feel pretty cool.
I think one of the best parts about that game in particular too is when you do get done with it, when you win, even if you lose, there's something about it that when we get done, I usually feel like everybody gives each other a pat on the back. Like everybody oh, and even if there's a bit of an argument or like, hey, why did you do that? Or we were playing with what's his name? Anti-Sky.
Yeah.
Anti-Sky. And I remember we were trying to give him, I felt like we were trying to give him hints to slightly adjust his play style, because there were a couple things that he was doing that were like, not quite sure this is, efficient for our play style, as a group, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, when you got done, you were just all, okay, I guess we need to change too. Like, just because it's not super efficient for the way we were playing, I was like, all right, that's the way he wants to play. It didn't work out. And then we turned around and we adjusted, and then ended up getting right through it the next time, because like there's that moment of adaptation. I actually think that's one of the more enjoyable things, is where you get done with a game and you're like, all right, I was playing with Cyanide, and he plays a very particular way, very particular. And were you in there, Johnny, when he was ignoring medical supplies? Were you with me?
Yes. Yep.
So Cyanide would walk past the medical supply, and I'd be like, dude, what are you doing? Pick the fucking thing up. And he's like, I don't need it. I have some blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but you won't always have blah, blah, blah. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You have a spot for it. Please grab it. It will make it better.
Yeah.
He didn't.
We had to discuss
it, but the first time he didn't, and ended up getting down. And I was like, exactly. Like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But what was funny was, it was a completely weird way of playing, because he was foregoing continuing. He was actively passing up the ability to continue.
When someone tells you, I don't need the seatbelt, I don't plan on crashing.
Yeah,
that's not the point of it.
Oh, that is exactly it. That is exactly what happened. That is a really good explanation for that discussion with him, which, by the way, turned out excellent. We had such a great time.
Yeah.
But we had to adjust to like this idea of where I just called out more. In the past, I'd be like, medical supplies over here. But then when I was playing with him, I'd be like, medical supplies over here.
Yeah.
By the pillar near the and I would just continually give out information until I saw his body. I'd like be watching him, and I would see
get him,
and
he'd
run towards me, and I'd be like,
yep, there you go.
And I'd move off, and it worked every time. I was like, oh,
I've tried the same with anti-sky and grenades, because every time we start a level, he tosses all 3 of his grenades out. Doesn't matter. He doesn't play with grenades. And I've been trying to hammer in the dude, grenades are very powerful in the game. He's getting there. He's used them a bit more.
That's something that I would probably quite quickly blame every loss on somebody like that. I quite quickly I'd be like,
had some grenades.
Yeah, or we did that yesterday. We were playing Call of Duty, and somebody healed me, and generically my plan was to always drop a grenade at my feet and back up when I got healed, and it always seemed to work. And I was like, if I had no grenades, I was thinking, like, if I had no grenades, that wouldn't work. So I certainly wouldn't be tossing grenades. Yeah, that's a unique way of playing. I mean, it's your own version of what is it? Your own version of hard mode, I guess.
Hard mode. Yeah.
I don't want to be in somebody else's version of hard mode. I want to be in one we all agree with.
You technically didn't sign up for no grenades mode.
Yeah, didn't sign up for that. Dodger says, you can have these moments in all multiplayer games if you don't take it too seriously. No, probably, but explain some. What ones have you had? That's what we're literally asking.
Dude, we had some good ones in World War Z too, where we got swarmed by giant waves. And I remember us surviving by the...
I mean, that's the best part, man. Any game, you come... I don't get it as much from, let's say, a single boss in Dark Souls, weirdly enough. I don't get it from... there's something about co-op. I think it's because you're working with another person and you are an imperfect tool already, and then you're with other imperfect tools, and you're like a toolbox that might be having some missing tools.
Somehow
we got to build this car. Yeah, and there's this feeling when you get done and somebody... maybe they do something that you go, oh, I'm going to do that. Or maybe they do something, they die, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to do that. Or whatever, but there's some amount of learning that occurs in co-op in particular, PvE in particular, that is my juice. And I've noticed I sort of gravitate towards those because the learning that occurs in a group, especially a group you will all get along. I'm not going to do much in one where everybody's not getting along or thinking along the same lines, but there's a certain magic there where you're like, okay, I really like this. It feels like this feels right. Let's see. Oh, they're talking to each other. Sorry. Somebody talking about textures and stuff. Southwick says, oh, you can definitely feel a difference between handcrafted versus procedural content. You certainly can't, because there's a couple games I know of that's got procedural content that people are currently talking about how natural they feel. I told you, I'll fuck this up. It's going to happen.
Sometimes, isn't it? It's not either or.
Yeah, but it's going to happen too when I review. I'll review an audio. It will happen where I'll talk about a voice thinking it's a real voice, and years later somebody will be like, that'll be AI. Yeah. It's going to happen.
Do you think we're there yet? Like where they can synthesize voices?
Not full long voice, but short voice blurbs. Absolutely. Like the stuff we saw in, let's say, Legion or in the finals is not even a millionth as close as we are now, but it takes years to do that. But you could, I mean, I've heard some voice packs for, sorry, I have hair in my eye. I had a voice pack for Starfield.
Elite? Oh,
and
Starfield.
I was listening to it going like, whoa. And it's because there were very short sentences where there's like a little emotion rubbed on, and it's like, that works great.
Damn.
It works really great. Yeah. I mean, it's just the way the future's going right now. I mean, I see a lot of people creating a lot of stuff with AI that will probably replace me at some point. You know, I mean, it's just going to happen. Somebody use AI to scrape a video or something and then make reviews, and it'll probably catch on because a lot of people won't know the difference. Hopefully it's not my voice they steal. They can steal whatever else they want. But if you steal my voice, I'm going to be mad. I'm going to chastise you. And then, probably end up losing that battle.
Speaking of being mad, anyway. Did you see the new life simulation game that everybody's like praising from its looks that's announced for early access in
oh, you mean the French named one
next year,
like Wavu or something? Yeah, Inzoi. Wavu. I was really far off. Yeah, don't care about it at all. The only reason that game's getting any heat whatsoever is because Paradox canceled theirs. That game was already right now. There's nothing about that interests me until we get closer. But my big belief is that it's, for the most part, what we're seeing is people jumping into the desire for that because Paradox is canceled. I do think it looks good in parts, but I think a lot of it also looks very fake. Very fake. We'll just have to see how all that works out. And what I mean by fake is, I mean, performance-wise in particular, where they show a lot of detail, and then in my brain I'm like, if we zoom out and try to move across this game world with this level of detail, got to have some hefty work on your shoulders. You got to have some good programmers. I'm all for it though. If it does if it looks good,
they're promising a lot of like interaction and different things you can do even in the town itself. So
yep. Yeah, it's cool, man. I mean, we're seeing a lot of these games coming up where one game gets canceled and another game sort of rears its head up. And I think that that's also an indicator of just how busy everything is, to where we don't have enough time to report on 10 games. So we report on 5. When one of those 5 goes down, one of the 6th, 7th, 8th games pops up and you suddenly hear people talking about it. And you're like, oh, how did I miss this? And when you look at it, it's like, it's not really that people missed it. It's that the content wasn't created for it because there's just not enough people to cover everything. It's just, there's so much shit. That's why I wish videos on indie games would do better. I used to do the indie, I think I did it once a month, and I did twice a month. Twice a month worked quite well, but it was like, I think top 10 upcoming indie games or something like that. And, but they just don't do well enough to offset doing something else. You know, I wish if I had like 18 million people watching, it might be different. And I think over time you would lose them too. I think that's one of the problems. Moving on from here, I want to talk about Steam, the Steam Fest, the Steam demo thing. So there were a bunch of games that come out. Anybody in chat, is there any Steam demos that you guys played in the Steam Fest? I think it was it called like Steam Demo Fest? I could be wrong. But whatever it was called, was there anything that you played in the last 2 weeks or so that was in that small section that you wanted us to either check out or play? Because I have about 9 games, 9 or 10, that people in our chat were talking about that I went and looked and was like, I would never have known that existed if somebody in chat hadn't told me. And it looked awesome. And I know a lot of people in here. Steam Next Fest. Thank you. Karate Survivor. Let me look this up. Karate Survivor. I'm going to give you my instant review as I look at these. Okay, here we go. Karate Survivor on Steam. No. Next up. Not for me. No. Delta Force for me for sure. Any others? I mean, Karate Survivor, not a no because it looks bad. It's just absolutely not my style of game. I will admit him swinging around with the little double-bladed hook Not too bad looking. This looks like a Jackie Chan simulator. Have you seen? Are you looking at it, Johnny?
I'm looking. Yeah.
I mean, he does some parkour and shit. So, well, there you go. Right. If there's any others, give me a shout out on what other ones there are. Ouch! Somebody said bloodshed. Indio says bloodshed. Let me check that one out. Bloodshed. Let's check this. Ooh, cheap too. Oh wow, that actually doesn't look good. I mean, did I say doesn't look good? I mean, doesn't look bad. That actually does not look bad. I'm surprised. Yeah, looking at some of the combat on it. Roguelike's a hard sell for me. Wait, first-person survivor-like? Okay, well, that's interesting. That's more interesting than I thought. Exhilarating fusion of roguelike elements merged with retro-style visuals and first-person survivors-like frantic combat action. Face endless waves of undead foes, collect experience points, upgrade your skills and weapons in a battle to survive the night. Even after death, you keep your hard-earned money, which can be exchanged for persistent improvements and unlock content, allowing you to progress further while adding depth to the overall gameplay. Okay, all right. I'll check it out. Billionaire. Whoa, sorry, the audio played. Sorry, chat. My audio just played that Steam demo audio, and that's going to be loud. Sincere apologies for everybody watching. I'm very sorry. Damn. Billionaire. Let me check that one. I don't know why my Steam decided to randomly play that at the loudest audio possible. Okay, Billionaire Simulator or Billionaire Lovers. There's about 10 games called Billionaire.
No, it's not. It's Billionaire.
Billionaire.
Yep.
Ball. Why does this sound like he's trying to get me to sign into some hentai?
No, this is wholesome.
It's not showing up on my Steam search. How are we spelling this? Ballion air?
It's like ball and then yonair, all one word.
Yonair. Okay, that one's not showing up for me. Maybe it's because it thinks it's porn and I have safe search on because I'm such a dainty fellow. I have no clue. Yeah, sorry, that was loud. I apologize for everybody involved. AI Limit. Let me check that one. Oh, yeah, so AI Limit. This one did also look very good. I actually thought this one would be up my alley. I don't know if Sense Game has released anything else, right? I think AI Limit is Sense Games only, but third person got a little bit of a cartoonish Bayonetta look to it. After the sudden yet mysterious collapse of the artificial ecosystem, natural disasters and wars ensued. The civilization was wiped out, and in the centuries that followed, a strange substance known as the mud spread everywhere, and monsters emerged. You step into the last city of mankind, Havenswell, exploring cold and damp sewers. Okay, so here's the problem. Man, that sounds like every other game. Exploring cold and damp sewers, layers of slums, city, sky city above the lake, seeking the truth. I mean, it's fine. It's just, it sounded sort of generic. Looks pretty good, though. Graphically, actually looks... Huh. Okay, that one looks good. I'll check that one out. Let's see, what else do we got here as people are still trying to clean the wax out of their ears that the audio punched through. Interested in Flint, Treasure of Oblivion. Have you heard of that one?
No.
Oblivion. Ooh, that's a HUD. All right. That is a busy looking game at times. That first picture, at least. Are you looking at these, Johnny? Or am I just doing this on my own? It's fine if I
No, I'm doing it too.
Okay. Experience the golden age of piracy through a strong and original narrative. Okay, blah, blah, blah. We don't care about that. Let's read assisted by his friend Billy Bones and his crew, Captain Flint sent sail on a mysterious treasure. If the call of the unknown galvanizes him, he doesn't yet suspect this adventure will set him free. So this is what's a little bothersome about this. I think that's written by AI. If the call of the unknown galvanizes him, he doesn't yet suspect this adventure will set him free, period. I like the look of the game, though. This is from Savage Level and Mike Rhodes. Savage Level's never released anything, but Mike Rhodes or whatever has done a lot of games. Looks good. Any others? Basketball only has one ball. Billionaire has two. Okay. Oh, The Precinct. Yeah, a lot of people really, really, really like The Precinct. I think overall that was probably one of the biggest like successes in our Discord. I think, did you try it?
No, I haven't had a chance to try these demos.
Dev Guy tried it and wasn't necessarily in love with it, but he was saying it was more because the game just wasn't his style. It wasn't that, because like he was playing it, got good graphics, had, you know, it was not as performant as maybe you'd expect, but it was also way prettier than even the video show. That was the first thing we noticed, is it looks gorge. Like, it is just primo looking when it comes to its overall presentation. It reminded me a little bit of the Ascent, but, you know, police officer version of the Ascent.
There's one that looks really good. It's called Jotun Slayer Hordes of Hell. So if you search for Hordes of Hell.
I did, yeah.
And yeah, that to me looks pretty cool. Immediately after, Steam is recommending My Femboy Roommate, so you got to be careful with the.
Your Steam is suggesting that in games.
It's saying this is in the top demos list for the festival. So.
Say that again. My Femboy what?
My Femboy Roommate, and this is definitely, like, you know, not safe for work. So,
I mean, depends on what kind of work you do, Johnny. Don't kink shame. You know,
that's true.
Another one I'm seeing that was out since September that I sort of want to check out because I like the graphics is the Spell Brigade.
Oh,
and it's online wizard spell co-op, like Diablo style game. But it looked really good. I saw a video of it about 3 or 4 days ago that I thought looked definitely like something I would want to check out. It's got a very interesting, almost Torchlight mixed with Diablo look, because they are both isometric. But what I mean by that is the design of the characters nowhere near skew as like detailed as a Diablo. They steer more towards a like the cartoony there. Deagle says Carrick acting like he hasn't played that one. I'm assuming you mean the Femboy one and not the Spell Brigade, because I feel like the joke wouldn't really hit.
Yeah.
So I'll take that.
There's one
Echo
called
Point
Luna
Nova?
Island, by the way. That looks pretty cool. It's a co-op RPG adventure. It's
Next
kind of
time we
like,
do this, I'll bring a video up so people can see, but I just don't want to have to worry about the fucking how the window grab works with Windows 10. I haven't done that in a while since last stream. Echo Point Nova looks good. Yeah. What was the game you were talking about?
This one is called Luma Island, Luma.
I mean, is it good, or is it is it goofy? Is it like, it's not pixel art or something, right? Because that's Luma Island sounds like a pixel art kind of game. Okay.
No, it is.
Okay. No, I see it. Epic adventure with yourself and your friends and family.
Yeah. Little co-op adventure game.
See, this looks like, what's the game on Nintendo's system that has you, not Farmville, the other, the.
Oh, what, Dragon Quest?
Is it Animal Crossing? I think it's Animal Crossing. That game looks like a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, you know.
Everybody I know loves Animal Crossing, and that game is just, you know, I don't know, kills me. Inyo says, obviously, Wind Blown has a great Next Fest demo, but it's out now. Yeah, their demo is great. Their gameplay is great. The game is hyper enjoyable, but again, it is early access, so people need to be aware of that. But I would say, as a title, it was a huge surprise for me. I just was not expecting to enjoy that as much as I did. It looked a little jank too. Even in the review, I think it looked, or the preview, it looked a little jank because of the way the game moves. It's just got a. You remember that one, Johnny? The bounce around one that I did?
Yeah.
The cell shade? Yeah. We have a question in Twitter, too, real quick. Gold and Silver says, does Metaphor do anything to break up the heavily segmented gameplay of Persona? I'm referencing the way Persona will have you do combat for several hours straight, then non-combat for several hours straight. That's a question for you.
So what was the first part of the question? Sorry, because I was
Does Metaphor do anything to break up the heavily segmented gameplay of Persona? I'm referencing the way Persona will have you do combat for several hours straight, then non-combat for several hours straight. He says, I know you can break this up technically, but it feels suboptimal, which is, I think, a super fair way of saying that.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair way to describe it. Once you're in a dungeon, you're in it until you finish it, right? And similarly, if there isn't a dungeon to do or a bounty, you probably will be doing a lot of the social stuff and a lot of side quests in sequence. So that can feel like a pretty big chunk. So yeah, I
So
would say
pretty
that's
much
a fair
the same,
criticism. Pretty
right?
much the same. You have a bit more leeway because you do have more, it's more open. So you can choose like, well, today I want to go do a dungeon and maybe postpone the dungeon for later. Whereas Persona, you're, maybe have less ability to say no, let's say, to things. So you have a bit more choice.
I want to say a big shout out to Golden Silver because he explained something really well, asked this question, but he also says, I know that you can technically break it up, but that's very suboptimal. I think that's a really good way of saying it, trying to explain to somebody that, yes, we know, because you're going to hear actually. Yeah, there's always somebody who's going to break in with a technically or an actually.
Yeah.
So the idea of explaining it is like, yeah, I get that, but it definitely, whether it be time, resources, or just the way the game's delivered, it's suboptimal. And that's sort of, it's suboptimal. I know it's suboptimal. We deal with it. So the idea of asking a question that way, very good job. Def Ego says, are you guys giving COD multiplayer a chance this time around? I hear the campaign's pretty good, but what about the other side? We did talk about that earlier, and yeah, for sure. Fatty McFactcheek says, if I'm really time squeezed, is metaphor a good buy? I can game like 7 hours a week. Fuck no.
Nah.
No.
You won't get anywhere. It will literally take you, 15 weeks?
It's not even that, Johnny. The reason why I was saying no even more than that is 7 hours a week means a huge gap between a story plot point, let's say at the starting of 7 hours, and that plot point perhaps coming at the ending of another. Do you know how hard that would be to remember if it was Monday to Friday? Like that shit would be a killer. What about Danny War says, what about next week's releases and Monster Hunter Wilds beta? Any thoughts or hopes? Well, I think we talked about the beta. I think what's next week? Dragon Age, right? Is next week.
We got Dragon Age.
Here's my hope for Dragon Age. That whether good or bad, some of these fucking drama people just let the game actually, if there's real issues, I want to hear about them, but some of the stuff that's just consistently
the insulary stuff around the game itself.
Yeah, and it's like technically this character's toe is slightly too long. Jesus Christ. So whether it's good or bad, I can't wait to like have people dive into it and talk about the actual factual stuff that's good and bad. Is all I'm saying. That it would be nice because it has been relentless lately. Rod Mullen says, is there a way to put all the metaphor furry characters into an Unreal Tournament 1999 game and launch them into the sun? There is not, but I would like that. I did not know there were furry characters in Metaphor.
So Metaphor has several different tribes of people, and a big theme of the game is the tribes being, segregated, mean to each other, and your job as the protagonist in a way is bring them all together.
Gotcha.
and become a big leader in a way. So it's a hopeful, utopia type thing that you're trying to build as the protagonist.
Can you remind me when we're done with the podcast too that I need to change the icons from stars? I have icons for the people who do the member. I guess I thought I uploaded it.
Very cool.
Yeah. All it is me buck naked, so maybe that's why it didn't work. We'll try.
Let's hope that's not the case. But
it's all the case. It's all the case. It's a cold case, though.
Bigger butts
or
more naked butts?
Not very big. It was cold that day.
Okay.
Just progressively bigger crack on the icon. You're like a level 10. No, goatsy.
Oh, God.
And speaking of goat, here we go. The next guy, Goat, says indie games coming that you're excited for. For me, it's Flint, Treasure of Oblivion. I think he might have written that. I think he might be the same person who wrote in our chat. If so, I'm definitely a big pirate fan. It's just we don't get a lot of games. The last one we got that was awesome was Shadow Gambit. Yeah, pirate games aren't really, Sea of Thieves, obviously. I'm not going to lie. I think Sea of Thieves is super popular and super fun for the most part. It's just not really my style for pirate games. You know what I'd like to see? Oh, I don't know about you. I don't know if you and I talked about this. We might have. Did we talk about this last week where they showed Yakuza like a pirate and they showed the ship combat?
The ship combat,
dude. It's awesome, man. Those games are just like, fuck it. Dude, that is like your friend who is up for anything. 3 a.m., you're tired, and you're like, dude, I don't want to put my shoes on, so let's just, like, I don't know, walk to 7-Eleven. And you're like, well, wouldn't you put your shoes on to walk? And he's already out the door. And you're like, he didn't want to wear shoes to drive, but he's just going to go down there barefoot. And you're like, sounds like a good plan. You end up 7-Eleven having the time of your life, a random adventure. That's sort of what Yakuza is, man. It's your best friend who still likes to build couch forts. That to me is awesome.
Yeah, just a big silly brawl on top of
nuts.
a ship deck. Yeah, that's.
And you know it's going to. I mean, I'm assuming some of your classes are going to be like deckhand or swabby or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some of the
toss people from the deck.
Walk in the plank. Walk in the plank.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because they're pretty creative. So
very creative.
Some good stuff there.
Yeah, very creative. I'm excited for it overall. I actually think that's like one of the ones I want to see. Powder Cake says, is anyone watching the Yakuza show on Amazon? I'm not, but I did actually see a review that from a person I sort of trusted actually said that was pretty good.
Is it already out? I haven't.
I don't know. I think they're a preview review. One of the guys who gets to go early kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. But I don't know. He says, is anybody in here? Powder Cake says, is anyone watching it? So I'm assuming he means it's actually available right now.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. I did want to watch it.
Robert says, I have those 7-Eleven experiences. Oh no, so do I. Anybody who's like, if you live near a store and it's late at night, anybody probably has at least one crazy store where you feel like you maybe have dodged a death or two. Robert says, or not Robert, but Antis Guy says, yeah, it is out.
Okay.
Like a Dragon has 3 episodes. So shout out on if you've watched them and if you liked them for Like a Dragon. From has its new episodes out. And I know Amudski says they're the best episodes in the entire series. Like he feels that this is the best season.
3 or From. Yeah.
Yep. Dude, it's TV. There's a lot of chaff, Johnny, man. But you'll find that show where you're like, it's damn good TV, man. This is damn good.
Yeah, you and I were talking about The Penguin, which I think whether you really like it or don't, you have to admit it's a pretty good production for a show.
Has anybody not liked it? I've seen mostly just people saying maybe it's slower than your CW
I think some
thing.
people complaining that it's a bit too slow.
Right.
But I think the reality is it's only 6 episodes. It's not that slow. And a bunch is happening, in my opinion. So I think it's really good. And I like the acting. The characters are pretty good.
Norby says, creator said they didn't play the games. The show seems to represent nothing to the Yakuza series from the game, so I skipped. That's what I thought too, but I'm seeing people who played Yakuza who actually say it's a pretty good See, that's the thing about Yakuza games versus just because they didn't play it, I don't know what show notes they got, or like ideas they got. So I got to jump in and check out one. I'll give it 1, but I agree with you, Nor. I actually, whenever anybody says I purposely didn't watch whatever it is that I fought to be able to make, I'm like, where are we? Like, why were you chosen? So we'll have to see. Romulus says, I just caught up with Mandalorian. Best Star Wars content by far, in my honest opinion. The Mandalorian.
See, that was pretty mixed bag for me, The Mandalorian. Some really cool stuff. And then
dropped off,
like some pacing issues too. Sort of not going anywhere.
Dude.
But it had some cool
If
parts.
I had enough money, I would make a game that was called, like Star Wars Adventures. A terrible name. That sounds like a generic mobile game, but I'd name it something else.
It's a Lego game right
Listen
there.
to this. It's like 2 to 3 hours jumping into, like, you do a Mandalorian character and a little bit of their story, then you jump into a Jedi, then you jump in, and it tells a story progressively. Again, I'd have to have billions of dollars to make this because it would make no money, but this is what I would do. And then at the very end, like, all those characters come together. So you have all these different stories, almost like you have a Telltale, but you have all these different stories where here you're a Jedi, you're doing something, here you're a Sith, you're doing little adventures, maybe 2 to 4 hours, and then they come together, like, at the end, all those stories progress. I think the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm playing Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic online, and it does a pretty good job where you feel like there's some overlap sometimes between different characters. Jason says, Mandalorian was absolutely awesome. Every season was so good. Jason Smith, full of shit. Definitely not true. But it's his opinion. I'm just joking. I actually thought The Mandalorian was pretty good all the way throughout. There's a couple things about it. I think Boba Fett was the one that a lot of people
Boba
felt
was pretty
missed,
flat.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did see as well, by the way, that they are making a second Predator movie next year. And this is just to remind people, they did a...
There's been like 100 Predator movies.
Well, it's that Prey movie they did, I believe, last year.
Oh, they're making a second one in the Prey world, in the the ladies' world.
I think they're calling it
her
Predator.
name.
So like a playing words, you know, the first one is Prey, this one is Predator, I think.
But it's
could be
her
wrong on what
again?
I'm reading, but yes, that's what it looks like.
I feel like I got
clear.
lied to about that movie pretty bad. I definitely feel like something was going on with that movie that I don't understand. But I one of the guys I know was like, oh, that's one of the greatest movies ever. So I was like, okay, I'll watch it. It was like, it was not very good at all.
I'm biased,
and
because
then
I like
later
the
he was like, oh yeah, I
protagonist.
didn't like it. You liked the protagonist in what way?
I thought she was great, and I was just like taken in by the protagonist. So I don't know. And also, I'm an easy sell because I enjoy those types of movies, you know, with predators. Like even the bad ones, I've had fun with them.
Well, that's the other cool thing is because it was pretty good, it's still 10 times better than the one prior, which was pretty opposite of anything good ever at all in history. That movie was... That was one of those movies where I was sitting there watching it going, what the... And I like a bunch of the actors in that. Thomas Jane's in it, for Christ's sakes. Like, right. I'm sitting there going like, oh man, Olivia Munn's in it. I'm like, yeah, okay. That's stretching a little too far. I don't necessarily... That didn't really, you know, cause me to want to watch it now that I think about it. But I was just watching it going, man, this is absolutely terrible. And yeah, Prey is not even in the same... It's like a different movie category compared to that one.
Yep.
That one was horrendous, man. Let's see. Powder Cake says, are you talking about the Adrian Brody one? I am not. The Adrian Brody one I loved, which was Predators. That's why I'm a little bothered by the names, man. Dude.
Yeah.
There's so many different overlapping names. It's ridiculous how crazy it is. But Predators I enjoyed. I hated that Prey movie, but enjoyed all the other Predators movies. So you're telling me you enjoyed that, what was it called? Predator? Was the bad one just called Predator? And it was like the one with Olivia Munn, and I think it was.
I'm struggling now to keep track of all of them.
Terrible. Predalien, man. We need to have a mixture of the Predator and Alien. Predalien. We've had it a couple times. I don't necessarily know why those guys are so... I mean, Alien, there's a TV show now coming out where the alien gets to Earth, and some of the best novels were those. So I'm actually excited for that. Indio says Predator, Predator 2, Predators, the Predator. Predator, okay, he's listing them out. Predator, Predator 2, Predators, the Predator, Prey. Those are the naming conventions.
Okay.
Damn. So Predator and Predator 2 I loved. I mean, dude, Danny Glover was awesome in Predator 2. I know that it's not cool to like. I like Predators. The Predator was terrible. Oh, and then he says Alien versus Predator 1 and 2 as well. That naming convention is amazing.
Oh, man.
That's Xbox. That's Xbox right there. That's the Xbox naming convention. The Xbox. Xbox 360. The original Xbox. Xbox Series XS. XXL. Only trash Predator movie was Prey. That almost put me to sleep. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't know. It is definitely a sleepy movie. What else do we got? You know, I'd watch Prey, or I'd play Prey as a video game. I think it'd be a pretty good video game.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But it'd have to be multiple Predators, right? Because, like, at some point, you wouldn't have any power till the end when you kill the Predator. It feels like a game like that would require multiple Predators.
I think multiple Predators.
Right.
Each of them with different skills, maybe. You know?
Different skills, different talents, different weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome, especially because we've seen in Predators, we saw that. Go ahead.
Yeah, there is one thing we didn't talk about, which is that Spider-Man 2 has now a PC release date for January next year.
Yeah.
Where are you at with this one? Would you consider replaying it on PC?
Yeah, if I get review code, we knew it was coming out because it was leaked. Playable leaked, like 9 months ago on torrent sites when the Sony hack happened. So we knew it was coming. But I just feel bad for the entire situation. Like, it's just feel bad for them getting it leaked. The Sony, the quick turnaround. I like quick turnarounds on ports, right? Ports make sense. Quicker even than Spider-Man 2. I would be fine with, but I don't like the remake stuff. That's the only thing that bothers me is the remake stuff. So like the Last of Us, or not the Last of Us, what is it? Horizon Zero Dawn, that being overlapping even within the same couple months of a Spider-Man 2 just bothers me. It just doesn't make, it doesn't make any numbers sense, but that's the way it is. I'll play Spider-Man 2 again. Yeah, I would play I would for sure play Spider-Man 2 again. There was some stuff that I wanted to do that I just, didn't really, I mean, I guess I had time, but maybe they didn't interest me too much. There was also some bugs. I don't know if you remember that initial release that came out. That first week, people had to experience all kinds of bugs. So it'd be nice that when people jump into this one, it'll be all set. Did you also see that they announced no DLC for sure? I thought it was pretty much known.
No story DLC. Yeah. What does that mean? Do you think that we're still getting like Spider-Man 3, right? Probably. It doesn't preclude a next game.
I think, without any spoilers, I think the ending of Spider-Man 2 put it in a place that you can only do a third one.
I think so. Yeah.
How are you going to do DLC with what? Like how that wrap? Like, because you would spoil the ending for 2. You would half-ass a new step in a different direction with 3. It would make no sense. So, like, especially when I was playing it. And we've talked about this before. The ending for 2, I was not happy with. I didn't like the curve of the characters. I was like, what is going, like this? It just, once again, we have that shit where everybody feels that huge change is needed. And a lot of times, a lot of us like familiarity with change introduced. And if you remove the familiarity and the foundation and you just keep heaping change in, it's very hard to put your feet down and go, okay, this is a thing. This is what I want. This is what I'm looking forward to in the future. I think the ending of 2 was really disappointing for me, dude. That's just me. I don't know. Were you okay with it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with you. I thought in general, every interaction with the jungle guy, like,
Craven, really the jungle guy. I love it.
Jungle bro.
The jungle guy.
It didn't really convince me at all. It really felt like, hey, we need a bad guy. We need him to be really strong.
Yeah.
Let's inject him into this otherwise pretty cool plot. So I was enjoying a lot of the other stuff, the stuff between Harry and Peter.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great start. And then, I just stopped caring at some point. I thought the first game did a much better job with the story, just making it really, closing on itself really well. Everything tying together.
I think also they have embraced, I don't want to use the word because it's just going to spawn a conversation that the word used to mean one thing, but now if I say it, it'll mean something else. But the idea that everybody needs to have their role. And then Mary Jane's got to have her role, that Peter's got to have his role, as well as, what's his name?
Harry?
No. The other guy, the other Spider-Man, not Peter. Blah.
Oh, Miles?
Miles. Yeah. I don't know why I couldn't remember it. So you have Mary Jane's got to have her stuff. Miles has got to have his. Peter's got to have his.
Right. My personal girl has got like.
Yeah, right. My personal opinion, I'm not in any way saying I know this, but my personal opinion would be, it would be a little nicer if it was condensed to where those things fed into Peter's experience as the Spider-Man game, because I liked Miles Morales' own game. And I actually think that was pretty well separated. I actually liked those. So I love the idea of, this is your superhero game / movie version, whatever Sony wants to make. And this is Spider-Man. And if you want to do Miles, I think that would also work really well. But the idea of trying to balance those, and then there was another character, it's not really a spoiler now, but there's other stuff going on in Spider-Man 2 where you're like, seriously? 4? And you get this sort of mixed up brewed stew that sometimes you can't really tell what's in it. It may taste good, but you're questioning if it's real meat or not. I think with Spider-Man 2, I definitely felt that by the end. I was a little bit like, okay, You know,
And
there's a lot of guys. And Craven was
one thing
terrible.
that-
I don't like Craven.
No, I thought he was pretty weak as a character. But like proof of what you said, that, you know, everybody needs a big role and has to be injected into the action, is that SBZ in chat is saying a group of elite hunters got taken down easily by Mary Jane. Yeah, single-handedly. She was chilling in that hunter camp.
It's not only that, dude. It's ignoring that it's Mary Jane, right? Pretend it's anybody else. The entire crux of Spider-Man, the entire fucking crux of almost all of this stuff is that there is inequality in power, inequality in ability, inequality in mental ability to control your physical powers, what have you, which we've seen in Spider-Man all the way back, you know, comic books originally into the movies. The idea that she was able to do stuff and ignore that it's her, I would mean if, let's say, Peter lost his powers completely, any normal person able to do it, it removes the hero moment. Because do you know what happens to me afterwards? I go, that person's lived through a terrorist kidnapping that happened in one, where I tried to kill her for ages and she wouldn't die. And then you have this one where she ruins people. And at some point you're like, we get it. They're a tough character. They're brave. They're whatever. But what in the fuck are we doing when every single person off the street is like able to do these things? And in the movies, we see it occasionally where a guy punches a bad guy. That's fine, the momentary thing. But when it becomes an interactive moment, you start losing the idea, a little bit of the identity of whatever's going on. By the way, I'll say the same thing if Wolverine does it. I'll say the same thing if any of those do it. It starts to pull you out of it and go, whose viewpoint am I like sort of trying to play from? Who am I supposed to, it's not who am I supposed to care about, but whose viewpoint is this game really from? And it definitely happened in 2 a bunch, dude, because that viewpoint was everywhere. That viewpoint was all over the map. It was like, here's your this, here's your this, here's your this. By the time you're done, you're like, it should have been called Spider Friends, because it really was a different style of game than the first one, you know, in a lot of ways, especially in its presentation. But, was the word woke, Smith said? No, it was not woke. I wouldn't be bothered by I would have used the term woke. I'll say it now, but I didn't want the entire conversation to get, it's just the, now I forgot the word, starts with an I. Not inclusion.
Inclusion?
No, the other one. I don't know why inclusion's a better, it's not inclusion though. It's,
equality?
No, it's,
diversity.
Oh my God. Diversity.
No.
Dude, it's one of those times where your brain, it's one of those times where your brain is just not,
DEI type stuff.
But you could say, I guess, inclusivity, but not in that way, in more of the way of Spider-Man's friends. It's almost like if Gears of War, inconsistent, there's a good one, inconsistent is a good term, but I think the same thing would happen, let's say if we were playing Gears of War. I don't know about you, but there were times when I was playing Gears of War when I saw the other humans doing stuff. And after a while, I was like, they better not be able to continue to do stuff really well, because at some point, Marcus and Dom will lose a tiny bit of their mythic, I'm playing them kind of situation. This happened with Halo. When you jump into Halo, these guys come out of the woodwork and they kill a couple guys here and there, but they get smote so often. And you're so much better than them that it gives you that, you're like, yeah, there's a reason I'm playing this guy, because it's probably going to crux around this one character. And this is just me talking. I mean, I don't make the games. And I loved Spider-Man too. It's just, there was some stuff that didn't really like about that one. Especially the later stuff where you can change. Like, we'll see how the new game comes out. As somebody said, there'll be a Venom game. We'll see, you know. Are you interested in a Venom game? Let's say it was Kraven versus Venom. We're all going with Venom, right? You wouldn't want a Kraven game.
Yeah,
okay.
Venom.
Okay, so
Venom's fun.
So, but would a full 40-hour Venom game be something you would want to experience?
I think so. It depends on the plot too, because if it's simply the, you know, oh, I'm Venom, I'm angry, I want to eat people type thing, it
Not
only
so
takes you so far. Yeah, it needs a little bit more.
Let me turn this on its fucking side though. What if, Johnny, you play as Venom, but the entire game you're fighting off heroes? So all the bosses are your Spider-Mans, your Miles, Maybe, who knows? Maybe Mary Jane somehow.
You get your ass kicked by
Mary Jane like shoots you with a taser she somehow made in the back room.
Take you down from
out
behind,
of bubble gum and some wrappers and a fucking spare USB battery. But no, seriously, for a second, wouldn't that be cool? If somehow you're so powerful, I'm trying to figure out why Spider-Man wouldn't come. Okay, the ending of 2 explains why Spider-Man 3 is going to have some differences. So let's say Spider-Man has to get to you. And so in that time, you're rampaging through the city. You have to fight Miles, kick him. I'm trying to think of who else is in there that's a good guy. You've got the Cat Girl or whatever her name is, the one that was in the DLC for number 1. She was a good guy. Can't remember her name off the top of my head. So you've got some other heroes. That would be sort of cool. You could even have, well, yeah, you couldn't have that. You could have some of the villains be, maybe they're afraid of you. Yeah, if you rampaged around town and they really switched it over to where you were truly the bad guy and the heroes were bosses.
Maybe at the end you have to ally yourself with the heroes to take down a common enemy that pops up. Like maybe Carnage pops up and turns out that,
I'm so disappointed in you as a person right now.
For one.
Johnny, what? We just said we don't need every bad guy to have like why can't he just be a bad guy right up until the end?
Realistically, like there has to be a common enemy or something for them to come together.
Come on, though. Wouldn't it be amazing if Venom beats Spider-Man at the end? It's just like you play,
just like
you're like you elbow drop him, you give him a few shots, and he just disappears into the water. And you're like, and SBZ's bringing up what I'm talking about, by the way, which is the old prototype superhero villain game that came out. I think it was THQ. I would love the idea if you just absolutely gutter sniped Spider-Man. Like maybe you break his back as an end move, and it's like, and it could cut even. You're like over the top in New York, and you're just like celebrating. You've got people in all your hands. You're getting ready to smash them, and then it cuts, and Spider-Man is in his fucking hospital room, right? He's beat up. He's got tubes in his mouth. Everybody's crying. Mary Jane is fixing everything on the side. But currently Spider-Man's broken. She's fine because it's Mary Jane. She'll be fine. She's like completely fine. Probably fucking somebody on the side.
Untouchable.
But you have Spider-Man laying there and his feet are open. The blanket is up because he's lost his ability to walk. And then right at the end, you see his toe go and do the little shake, right? Where he's getting right.
None of that will ever happen.
Listen, it's like, and then suddenly you hear that Spider-Man crescendo. That could work.
Wow. What a pitch, Carrick.
Why does nobody listen to me when it comes to making games, Johnny? I don't understand. Dude, you can't tell me people wouldn't love that, though. Imagine the balls to flip it completely and just be like, dude, it's not like a horror game.
Old story, They did something similar with the Suicide Squad.
Oh, that's absolutely true. Yeah,
where they were taking down some heroes and people lost their shit. But I think... Did they? Yeah. People got really angry about that. Oh,
now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, you're right.
The type of old story where, like, heroes are being taken down and stuff. But I don't know if it's true. I feel like the DC universe hardcore fans are much more
open to that
about it.
Oh, you mean hardcore? They're more hardcore about it. Do you mean Batman, though? Do you mean Batman? Because I think Batman, you might be right. People don't want Batman losing. You know?
But I think people are okay with seeing like Spider-Man being a goof and losing.
More than Spider-Man being
wrong, though.
Because Spider-Man's Marvel. So you're saying...
Well, I'm comparing like the Marvel fans.
No, I agree with you.
DC, and I think DC are a bit more strict. Like they don't really want to see that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff going against canon. I could be wrong, though. That's just,
Just call it altverse or whatever the term is for the cartoons that they do. Because I think they have the Marvel and DC, DC's got elsewhere, but DC's got a bunch. They both have a bunch. Just call it like, you don't want to call it alt Spider-Man. That's going to piss off everybody. You'd have to come up with something. But you come up with like, I mean, we saw it with Shattered Dimensions. Did you ever play that one? That's ace Spider-Man game, man. Ace Spider-Man game. So the idea of doing that would be great. I hope with Wolverine it's totally R, and that it's I don't know where this Wolverine is going, but I would love the idea of when we play it, it's the harder, I mean, Wolverine's not a good guy. generally, in general terms, will say he had a huge amount of time where he was a terrible person. So I love the idea of having the anti-hero game. But that's the thing. I don't even know if I want an anti-hero. I sort of want villains. I mean, imagine you subtitle. Imagine they had the balls to say, they title it Villains, Venom. And you know that particular superhero game is coming from Venom's standpoint, and none of the touchy-feely shit. And I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, a series like that would be fun. I would agree.
General public doesn't want certain heroes losing. Yeah, like The Rock and Vin Diesel. Just joking. I can't say much about Spider-Man 2 as I haven't played it, but yet everything I've seen, it looks pretty good to me, but I have to play for myself. Well, I mean, I think even the issues that we've all even talked about generally still liked Spider-Man 2 a great deal. I think Spider-Man 2 speaks towards a game not having to be perfect in every way to still be very good, right? I mean,
yep.
You liked it, I liked it, yeah. What else do we got?
There was one thing that I saw. DayZ.
Oh my God.
After 10 years.
Dude.
They hit 500,000 concurrent players.
Concurrent players. Is that how many years? How many years?
10 years.
10 years, man.
They got a new expansion, that's why. But holy, I mean,
dude, that is absolutely incredible. DayZ is such an old ass grognard game too. Like it's so crunchy. It's pretty non-apologetic because of when it was made. And the idea that has that many concurrent players, I'm assuming some people are streaming it and it sort of became, there was some plans to get it to be, I don't know if the term would be to get it to be big, but there's probably some PR done for this. That is unbelievable for a current number of players. I wonder what the current number of players was 3 years ago when nothing was out. It was probably ebbing in 20 or 30,000. Like they probably numbers that Concord would have killed for. Numbers that a lot of MMOs would probably kill for. DayZ has so many things in it, dude, that are like little rules on side of etiquette that you have to follow when you're in that game, when you want to do stuff. It's great. Love Making Video says, Carrot, did you play Arma mod for DayZ? I did. Yes. Powder Cake C says, most B2C list comic characters couldn't hold their entire game. They're better off as sidekicks. I wouldn't mind a Daredevil or Punisher game, though. Yeah, Punisher would be cool, but Punisher's too dark, right?
Yeah. I keep thinking if it's possible to do a game around a bad guy.
Oh, he just left. Johnny doesn't agree, guys. Johnny's like, listen, I do not believe that you can do a game in this way. And he left our chat. He's gone. That's the thing about Johnny. When he gets pissy, he leaves. Oh, but anyway, you're back? No, I'm just joking. You disconnected. Oh, he can't hear us. I do like the timing for that, where Johnny's giving like some incredibly detailed experience. He's like, let me explain to you my theory of everything.
There we go. I can hear you now.
What's up?
Yeah, I don't know. My Zoom lost it for a sec.
But you were saying you don't. What were you trying to say? Do you remember? If you don't, it's fine.
Yes, I'm saying I don't know if we can have a game that's fully around a bad guy that kills people, and you see him kill people in photorealistic third person or maybe even first person, but like. It seems like there needs to be a certain level of detachment from
like a buffer,
bad stuff like that. Yeah. It's either an understanding that people deserve it, so maybe they're Nazis like they do in Wolfenstein, or maybe it's kind of stylized graphics, so it's like 300 exaggerated gore or something.
Sorry, I was answering somebody. I think the buffer zone. So let me explain something real quick for Venom. I don't think Venom would have to kill people. I think Venom could get away in the same way Batman, who was smoting children's souls, was evaporating people's bodies with his tank, was hitting people at 6,000 miles an hour, And then all they
Dropping them
did
from
was have a
buildings,
single sentence that said, "Don't worry, it's electrified." And I'm like, so you hit somebody with an electrified tank and you're trying to tell me it's fine. I think with Venom you could get away with, you know, some buffer narratively. But I agree with you. I don't want to see I guess what I don't need to see Venom killing everybody in town, but I do love the idea of him loving just wrecking shit and doing what he wants. And I think you could tell a story in that way where you're fighting against the police officers and the force, and look like Spider-Man. Spider-Man still has amazing combat and you don't kill anybody. I think Venom is just punching people and they fall down. You don't have to see him tear anybody apart, except for the bosses, but that would never happen. But I agree with you. It's a hard sell. It's why I always talk about how I wish I had the money to do these, because, you know, maybe it'd fail utterly, but I do think gamers are pretty okay. I think that gamers would be okay, and probably it would do well. If you look at the first Venom movie, didn't that do well? The very first Venom movie? I don't know how well the second. I think it did. I'm talking more in that lines, you know, because I mean he's got the comedic take, right? You know, that fits, I think, what I'm talking about. Just the idea,
and that's fair, because the character, you know, he talks about eating people and stuff, but you could make it so you never see it or it never happens for narrative reasons, right? So, I mean,
Punisher did let you torture people and like molten their head and let a shark bite off their head. So, I mean, but you know what? Here's the thing. It was all explained because he had a vendetta, right? Vendettas are great.
He's punishing people.
Vendettas are great, dude. All you need is one bad thing to happen to somebody, and you're like, anything he does for the next 40 hours is fine.
And so,
I just want to point one thing out. And the best part about games and movies is this, Johnny, and now that I mention it, you're going to notice it in every one of these. If a main character is consistently on a vendetta mission, at some point they have to continue it moving forward so that the person doesn't start to feel that disenchantment. So they will always have a person come in and pretend that they were a part of that murder, or remind the player or the watcher of how bad that situation was. You will always have a semi-boss who was like, I was there when your wife was killed. She cried the entire time. That's all they're there for, is to have you're like, and then that guy's there and you're like, boom, and you're back up to like, I remember revengeance. Yep.
That's
Sorry,
a good point.
I just had to point that out because I noticed it.
Johnny doesn't want a Jeffrey Dahmer manhunt game.
Right.
That's sort of what I was going for, is if you have someone just, you know, unapologetically slaying people, and you're seeing that, and like, that would be off-putting.
I absolutely agree.
Even in Dexter, the show, you have a certain feeling that, you know, yes, he's a psychopath, but there's a certain code that he's adhering to that makes sense to him in his moral framework, right? Where he's assessing the good he's doing outweighs the bad in some way.
Yeah, he's killing killers too, right? I mean, that pays off. It pays off in dividends for people, because if you're killing a person who is worse than you can be pretty diabolical. How do I know that? Look at any news report where somebody says a prisoner killed somebody who was arrested for child abuse outside of prison. So you got a guy who's convicted of aggravated assault many times. You got a guy who's convicted of murdering somebody else. But the moment somebody comes into prison that is considered in our social moral code as worse than them, a lot of people are like, good on you, you know? So, I mean, I think with Dexter, that's the way they got away with it a lot. Dexter was pretty distasteful sometimes, though. I mean, I can watch, I don't mean distasteful like I hated it. I actually mean I could pick up on it going a little too far here or there, and you could feel them go like, we're going to push it, pull it back a little bit, we'll push it over here a little bit. And that's how you navigate that kind of stuff. Great writers, though. I mean, just phenomenal that people can do that kind of thing. A new Manhunt would be amazing in VR. Ooh, VR's hard.
Oof.
VR is hard. That's a hard one, man. VR is hard because you're up close, just like
even
when you look at
person. It's tough.
Yeah. When you look at like how close and personable and somebody's in your space in VR, the idea of like a manhunt in VR would be fantastic. Yeah, that would be enjoyable. Any other games that you guys want to see that are like, or villains that you think would make a good game? How about that? Is there any villains you think would make a good game. And I mean, we can all joke about Jeffrey Dahmer, but we're really talking about, you know, like, is there any comic book villains, what have you? I mean, technically, dude, have you ever played like Romance of the Three Kingdoms? And you're like those leaders back in the, you know, those are some bad, those are some bad dudes right there. Let's see. It's M-rated Daredevil game would be awesome. Venom is Woody Harrelson, right? No, Venom is, if you're not joking, Venom is, what's his name? Bane? Thomas, no. What's his name? The guy who plays, Tom Hardy, yeah.
Hardy?
Yeah. Javier says, but tearing apart people is where the money is. That is true. Yeah.
You know, the way you would get around
Hellraiser's
that
Pinhead would be cool. Sorry, go ahead.
Is if you had a Spider-Man zombie game. Zombie zombie apocalypse, and Spider-Man is really limited to what he can do because he can die, he can get bit, and but Venom is immune to the disease, perhaps because of his different chemistry, and so he can get in there, he can eat some zombie, like chomp heads off and everything,
and then you'd get away with that
because it's zombies.
Yeah. You'd feel fine. You'd be like, hey man, you were a great guy about a week ago, now you're dead though, so I can kill you because I'm Venom. Let's see, a Riddler game where you craft riddle-based traps and crime scenes. Javier, I know that's a joke. Ever. You're so mean. Big Mac says, Venom is Tom Hardy. Woody Harrelson played Carnage.
Yes.
Okay.
Or and how we pronounce that in Brazil, Carnage. Carnage. Yeah. We can move on from there.
Kel says, honestly, I'd like to play an RPG as the Elusive Man from Mass Effect. That would be cool. Marvel Zombies, the game.
I really feel like the Elusive Man is one of those iceberg characters in the sense that they give you a sense that he's so intelligent, he's got all these plans, but really it's the lack of knowledge of what he's doing that gives you the impression he's very competent.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so you kind of project onto him that.
And the idea that somebody that big with that many things going on who thinks that quickly can take a problem and still figure out a way around it because of resources. And so a lot of people will say, oh, this person's really intelligent. And you realize, no, that person's just really wealthy. And nothing wrong with that. They got the wealth for whatever reason, even if it means holding on to it from family wealth. That's not as easy as people think. We've seen it go wrong many times. But it's like, I like the Elusive Man as one of those characters that they just don't say a lot, but they have a lot of resources. So you're under the assumption, you're like, oh, this person's prepared for everything. Like every move for him is checkmate. He's, he's got a chessboard with one piece, his, and no matter what you do. But when you realize it, like you said, it's sort of just the presentation of that character. But I would still play him. I don't know. You wouldn't be able to shoot anything. So that would sort of suck. Let's see. A game as Gargamel hunting the Smurfs. Okay, I'd play the hell out of the game. Vapor for Blood says, a game where you play as a serial killer or gangster in a huge prison full of criminals and monsters, and you have to escape. Yeah, we're getting right to that edge of like what would be acceptable, but I do think an indie title would do that, probably with no.
What about a prison break game where you have to you have your confidence just like Persona or something. You're leveling up like the guy that will give you an extra
to collect
toothpaste.
them all. So you have to you have to collect them all. So you have to collect like your murderers, your aggravated assault, and they have different skills.
Yeah, spend time with Jimmy in
the
out
social
in the courtyard.
setting. Okay, out in the courtyard's fine. I was just saying.
that he will lend you his toothbrush, so you
guys are doing push-ups together, and you're like, and as you're doing push-ups, you can see like +1 to charisma or +1 to like comradeship with Jimmy the Shiv, and you're like, yeah, man, pretty soon we're gonna be best friends. Martin Sheen crushed at playing the Elusive Man too well. Yeah, he did. He did amazing. What else do we got? Is that about it?
I think that's about it. I watched a new show this week. I wanted to run by you. It's called Sweet Pea. I believe it's like I don't know if it's on HBO for you guys, but over here it's on the same place that shows HBO stuff. And it's let me dig up her name because she's fantastic in it. So it's a little bit like Dexter in a way. Like there's some vibes to it. So it's like a dark comedy drama type thing. And her name is Ella Purnell. So she's done some other stuff. She's very she did the Fallout show.
She's Fallout.
That's where,
yeah,
Fallout show. So I thought she was great in both those shows. This one is really funny, and it's like 6 episodes, short and sweet, fun little adventure. It takes place in the UK, so everybody speaks Brit, which is also endearing. And then it's just a really fun ride. Highly recommend it. It's very well concocted. It's a good pace to it.
Sweet Pea. Did you ever watch? Did you watch Sweet Tooth? Or I think it's Sweet. The one with the kid who's got the horns. It's after the what was that called?
Not
was that
all of it. Yeah, it is Sweet Tooth, I believe.
I finished both of those, both seasons. First season was great. Second season,
I've only seen the first one. Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot because it was a different thing, but I don't know. There's something about the second season that didn't really nail it for me, but still enjoyable. I like my post-apocalyptic shows.
Yeah.
What other shows? I did Hot Zone, which is old as hell, but it's like a TV show about, I think the first one's Ebola. The second one is during the anthrax leak, the anthrax poisonings that happened in America right after 9/11. And it's just a fictionalized, or nonfiction of them, of these scientists investigating him. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it was old. You can tell, you can tell, like you're looking at their cell phones and they're using flip phones and shit. You realize how many years old this is.
Yeah.
Some people are watching Kingdom. I asked everybody in chat what they were watching right now. It looks like Tales from the Crypt is back today on Max. That's cool. That's old as fucking hell. We got, Powder Cake says, if you enjoyed the Southern Reach series, which was Annihilation, the movie, the last book just released called Absolution. Rogerio's watching Kingdom on Netflix, best zombie series ever made. Vapor for Blood says, I watched Return of the Living Dead with my friend the other night, and I remember now why the movie gave me nightmares as a child. What did I think about the finals? Do you mean the video game, the finals? I actually still enjoy it quite a bit. I enjoy watching it more than I enjoy playing it for some reason. It's actually a fun shooter to watch. I think it's because of the destruction. Definitely hope to see destruction like that and everything. Jesus, I would kill for that. Anti-Sky's watching The Penguin. Hellbound Season 2 just hit Netflix. What's Hellbound?
Hellbound?
Is that a cartoon? Is that an anime? Is that one of the massive series of animes that we have lately?
I need to double check this. No, I think it's a Korean, I want to say. Korean show. Live action. Yeah.
Tulsa King on Paramount. Tulsa King's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, those are all great, man. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to watch or read or listen to music-wise. I haven't found any new music. I've been trying, but it's been I think most of my bands are probably in the studio
Breaking
writing.
Benjamin has a new single.
I did see that, and then I saw Creed was back randomly. I was watching YouTube, really? And they showed up, and Creed was singing. I was like, whoa, time lapse, man. That was crazy. Yeah, they need to tour together. Both of those guys need to go around together and tour. That would be sort of a crazy ass way to introduce us to 2025 if they started touring. That'll be it for us. Johnny, what are you streaming, or not? What are you streaming now? What's your channel, and what are you making videos wise?
So my channel is Johnny Plays on YouTube. I'm doing League content daily, and tomorrow I have a new compilation 3-hour playing the same champion, Mordekaiser, League of Legends. And it's all different matchups and talking about the game and everything. So, yeah, that's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, and he's done a good job. He did a 5-hour, he grabbed a bunch, put them in, and then you said you're doing it again now?
Yep. Different champion this time. That's it. Yeah, it's a good time. And 4K, I'm using Carrick's secret strategies to up res.
Secret strategies only done by ACG on YouTube. I'm just joking. A bunch of us know it, but yeah, it's very, very helpful when you're trying to capture and record footage to get better fidelity. It's always nice to like have somebody watch and go, dude, the fidelity on this video is amazing. Yes, it is. You're welcome, my friend. Remember, also at the end of this, I will hit end when it does end. If you want to get a chance of winning a copy of Blops 6, feel free to comment in our chat about either why you feel Call of Duty has stuck around, regardless of how many changes and problems that they've had. I said they could answer it two ways, right? It was, why is it stuck around? Then I think I said, what was the other part of this one? Do you remember? Did I say why it hasn't worked for you? No. It's not what I said.
No, I think it's why it's stuck around.
I think it's why I feel like I gave them an out if they didn't want to talk about that. But fuck it. That's what you have to do. You have to say you have to do that. You also have to give it a thumbs up. No, you don't have to. But if you do, I would absolutely appreciate it. Anyway, that is it for us. Thank you guys very much for watching us. I hope you have a good weekend. If you guys get a chance, I would love for you to check out Patreon, especially. We don't do trips anywhere. We're not going to fucking Disneyland, anything like that. We're not going to spend 4 months trying to pretend whore our way out of a trip so that we suddenly appear to be honest. We don't do that kind of stuff. So if you guys get a chance, you want to give a couple bucks our way, it absolutely does help the channel. Helps me sit down with Johnny and talk about video games. Helps us get the time to do reviews, all that kind of crazy shit. So if you get a chance, do that. I think that's it for, let's see, do we have any other closing stuff? No?
That's it. No? Remember, if you join the channel as well, you get access to the Discord.
Yep.
You can voice chat with us.
Play games, stream.
That sounded a bit...
Naked chat, for sure. You heard it here first. Absolutely buck naked chat. Anyway, that'll be it for us. Thank you, I tried to get done. I fucking was so close. And I knew that was coming. And I was getting ready to stop the fucking stream. Anyway, that's it for us. Have a good one, everybody. Damn.
Bye-bye.
Peace out.